Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Hang. So it must be Tuesday. Hey, what's going on? Season 3, episode 9. Here we are again. It's like a 32nd episode or something like this. Oh my God. I'm getting gray hair hanging out at this desk in my office every freaking Tuesday night. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Tonight, we're going to have a great time like we always do. Last week, we had our friend and foe from Maynard Ferguson's organization and Joan Jett's organization. The great Ed Sargent was here. So if you guys missed it, it's recorded and check it out on YouTube or Facebook. And tonight we're very honored to have one of my great friends for 32 years. We were talking to him earlier. He's going to be on here very shortly. The wonderful brass and woodwind specialist from Warburton Music Products, the wonderful Terry Warburton is here. So we're going to bring him in here in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say hello to everybody and thank everybody for hanging with us every week. I look forward to it. Hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I gained 59 pounds. That was just with the turkey. And I gained another 5 pounds with the other stuff I did. So it happens. It happens. What can I tell you? Anyway, from Chicago, LaGrange area, let's say hello to my buddy, the guy that keeps everybody together, Stephen Wright. What's up, Stephen?
Hey guys, what's going on? Happy
Hey, how
holidays
you
to
doing?
everybody. How you doing? How you doing?
Hey, what is it, like minus 29 now? What?
It was 20 today.
Jesus Christ. It must be cold there because even here in Florida, tomorrow's going to be probably the coldest day of the year.
Really?
Why do we always talk about freaking weather? I've become so old now. I talk about the weather.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know what it reminds me of? Have you seen that commercial where they're telling you not to become your parents? And it's,
Yeah. I'm going to eat a large lunch.
it's like, remember, Carl, you hired him. He doesn't need your help.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. So everything's cool over there other than the cool weather?
Yeah, everything's all good. I accidentally hit the button, so everybody got a sneak preview of Terry watching us.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Well, he's in the waiting room.
Still can't hear him, but
Well, cool, man. Everything's going good. And all right. We should talk about, before we get too far, we do hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Two things I just want to hit quickly. We had such a great outpouring of love and support for our stream. We've been doing this now 32 episodes. We had such a great support through PayPal and Venmo, which is up in the corner last week. Thank you so much. You guys know who you are and girls know who you are. Thank you so much for the donations. That's going to make Steven actually get his Christmas, his Kwanzaa presents. And what's the Festivus presidents?
Yeah,
No.
I'm gonna get a new hat.
Yeah. No, we appreciate the donations. They go for a really beautiful cause. It keeps he has it's a restream we're using in another broadcasting system. So it pays our servers and keeps everything going. And we appreciate that. And thank you so much. It means a lot to us. That was very nice of you guys and girls. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if you do happen to want, like Carl said, up in the top left, there's those 2 codes. Also, if you'd rather support by getting a CFT shirt, we do have those. The link right below those barcodes, and all that does help to support the cost of doing the stream. So I don't have the Warburton shirts. I should have talked to Terry.
Well, I think we're lucky enough that Kim, one of Terry's great employees, she takes care of a whole bunch of stuff over there. I think they're sharing the stream on the Warburton site, and you can go to Warburton. He has some great swag. This is one of my favorites. 45th anniversary party in his shirt. So he's got some great stuff. You can go on his site too. But we appreciate the support. It's not needed. It's not, don't feel obligated. It's definitely a beautiful gesture. Enough about that. We're not begging for money. We're good. We appreciate it. And one thing I will say before I bring out Mr. Warburton is we're going to do next week, which is December 8th. And I guess can I let the cat out of the bag? I think I can, right? I mean, you and I didn't talk today, Stephen. Can I kind of tell everybody what's going on?
Yeah, worst case scenario, we don't do it.
Yeah, and then we get in trouble. I did talk to Mike quickly today
Yeah.
via text. So anyway, long story short, what I'm getting at is next week, December 8th, is going to be our 10th episode. It's going to be our closeout for our season. We're going to take about 2 weeks off, but our guest next week is going to be our friend and my bandmate for Billy Joel. We're going to have Mike Del Judas, a wonderful singer and rhythm guitar player, also piano player, but with Billy, he doesn't play piano. So Mike's in front of me, and Mike Del Judas is going to come, and we're doing a special episode at All Access Studios here in Clearwater, Florida. We're going to play some tunes at the studio, and we're going to do our hang. So we're going to kind of combine our efforts, and we're really looking forward to having a good time like we always do and playing some music for you guys. So keep an eye out for that.
Be a good time. And also just a quick thanks to Mike and Ronnie and Doug over at All Access for all the help, helping us get set up and everything. You'd think it would be easy, but there's actually a lot of moving parts.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only with the stream are they helping with the stream, we actually had my band T.Ë.T.I there 2 seasons ago. Actually, no, last season we played there, but also I recorded my T.इ record. I just did I did a whole bunch of Christmas tracks that will be out, we hope, a week before Christmas. So keep an eye out for that. And that was all done with Doug, Ronnie, and Mike over at All Access Studios. So they're a big supporter of us, and we're a big supporter of them, just like our next person we're going to talk about. So we appreciate the support. And without this gentleman here that's coming on now, I wouldn't be playing half as much as trumpet as I'm playing now. This gentleman has really helped my career out for a long time. So let's just jump on this really quick. I'm talking about my friend Terry Warburton. He's the president and founder of Warburton Music Products. If we have a lot of people on here that are not trumpet players, and some might be saxophone players, some might be trombone players, some might be not even players. They might have a normal gig, which is totally cool. So this is why I kind of do this prelim. So Mr. Warburton has Warburton Musical Products. And he's just a great guy, man. He started playing trumpet when he was 14 years old. And then he went to the trombone, played trombone for about 10 years. He started playing when he was really young as a trumpet player. And throughout his playing experiences, he's developed a unique perspective into the needs of brass players. He has over 40 years of experience manufacturing brass instrument mouthpieces. And Terry is known worldwide, man. This guy's known worldwide for making just great mouthpieces and trumpets, and just from tuba to cornet mouthpieces. His quality of work and ingenuity is second to none. It's really, really beautiful stuff. A little background on Terry, because Terry's very modest. He's such a modest guy. But I'm going to go back to the early 70s. He was inspired to make brass mouthpieces while working for Long and McQuaid over in Canada. So he was observing and learning from Bob Giardinelli of Giardinelli's in New York. He bought his own lathe when he was, very young, and spent time making tools. And he had a trumpet player friend and machinist, Eric Davies, that he helped Terry out. And he had financial support of his beautiful parents, and he started his own mouthpiece company in Toronto at 24 years old, man. I mean, not a lot of people can say that. That's just a beautiful thing. So, 5 years later, Bob Giardinelli, if you're not familiar with Giardinelli, he was like the end all be all mouthpiece maker in New York City. Hired Terry. There he is. There's Maurice Andre. I think that's Giardinelli in there. Terry will talk to you about that. It was Maurice and wonderful Bob Giardinelli, and Terry being a young 24, maybe 25. I don't know. He was, working with Giardinelli's and doing the manufacturing over there, and had a great relationship with Bob. And then, Terry decided it was time to go to back to Toronto and continue on and develop his own company, which is, who's doing that, man? That takes a lot of guts. So a little couple tidbits. He was the first mouthpiece manufacturer, I believe, to employ CNC technology in mouthpiece designing, which is amazing. Over the years, he's worked with countless brass artists and developed seamlessly endless range of options with his beautiful combinations. There's screw tops. You can change backboards. You can change cups. He has standard models, signature models. Again, from cornet to tuba. So if you want to experiment, his stuff is great because, man, it's highly put together, just so the workmanship is so beautiful, and the stuff is just it's really just it's fun. It's a really good thing to deal with, and Terry has been an advocate of that for a long time, man. A lot of all of us owe him a lot of gratitude in that. Beyond his mouthpiece work, he has invented and has a hand in developing several development tools for both woodwind and brass players. Some of these tools were designed with the beginning and intermediate players in mind. Advanced and professional level players like myself, I find them very useful, like the T.Ë.T. A lot of these things that might help out intermediate and beginners, they go across the board, man. They're just good fundamental practicing tools that help out and make me a better player. For that, I'm very thankful. On top of that, you know, Terry has his hand in a lot of things. He developed a modular, Warburton modular saxophone neck system. That's unbelievable. I actually play it with Billy Joel on my tenor. It's a beautiful, beautiful sounding neck. So it's just not brass instruments, it's saxophones. And he's also very involved with making beautiful wood brass mutes. Trumpet mutes and trombone mutes out of wood. The Warburton Woody Cup mutes, and all these mutes he makes are just unbelievable. On top of that, let's go one step farther. We have 5 horns here in front of me. I've been very fortunate. Terry has helped me develop and has made my Warburton CF signature trumpet. And man, he spent time listening, brainstorming. We've tested the designs for my CF horns, and man, these horns are amazing. I believe that it's the best trumpet I've played for myself. I love it. And even his standard models, he's developed a slot receiver that Terry invented. And as well as his lead pipes, he draws on his own mandrels, and he has designed himself. They're just really wonderful, wonderful pieces of gear. I can't talk highly enough about it. So when he's not working at the factory, Terry's never satisfied with the status quo. He's always thinking about new designs and products for the future, and that's why we love him. He's just always dealing and trying to figure things out. With me personally and business wise, I've always been intrigued by Terry's positive attitude, his relentless work ethic. He gets up at 4 a.m. He will always listen and strive to get it done, no matter what. Even cancer can not even slow Terry down. He's just a hardworking man. He's been through it all, man. I remember meeting Terry in the late 80s, and he was the same man as he is today. He's the same man. He's unchanged with all his accomplishments. He really is. He's driven, personable, interested, with a great sense of humor and wit that can only be Terry. I'm very thankful to be with him, his friend for 32 years, and obviously a signature artist of his. I always look forward to hearing about Terry's projects, and it's always fun. So without further ado, let's find out about Terry's projects, and let's say hello to our friend Terry Warburton. Where are you?
Am I on?
There he is.
All right, well, give me about 2 minutes to stop blushing after that gushing prelude to the Terry Warburton saga here. Good God, Carl. I love you too, man.
I love you, man. I tell you, everybody I have on here, man, they're my friends, and it's the hang. We're here for the hang, and I love you, man. It's like the things that you've done for brass players and people in general, not just brass players. I mean, your town in Mims and Titusville. I mean, you're a big. I remember when we opened up the new factory, we had the ribbon cutting, and everybody was coming through and so happy about, man, you have, just a positive influence in the whole community. There's the ribbon cutting with Ann, your beautiful wife. And yeah, man, it's just, I'm so happy to be here with you, brother. I really am.
I appreciate that. I mean, you almost got my whole story straight, but you know, it's okay. I mean, I like most of it, you know.
Correct me. I mean, some I remembered, some I took off your site, but was it 24 you went to Giardinelli?
No. I started Mouthpieces when I was 24. I started Longwood Quaid Music Store when I was 18. Yeah. Yeah. High school wasn't really for me, and college was out of the question. So I thought I'd just go get a job, you know?
Yeah, man.
I found out that I loved that as much as trumpet playing, but I did both at the same time. Had a great time and wonderful people. Jack Long is a hero of mine and still is.
Cool.
A great trumpet player too, by the way.
Is he?
And he was a fabulous player, great jazz player, amazing. Cool. And I met so many wonderful people in those early formative days. For example, Guido Basso and I have been friends for over 50 years, by the way.
Oh,
wait a minute. Am I that old? Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 51 years, actually.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I'll give us a funny story. This is seeing I was a trumpet hang. So here I am, I don't know, 20, 21, something like that. And Guido comes to the music store along with Quaid. He goes, "Hey, Terry," he goes, "Did you sub on a gig for me?" And I'm like, I doubt it. I don't think I play quite as good as you do, right? And he goes, "Oh, no." He goes, "You don't have to play." He goes, "It's a studio gig." He goes, "We recorded already." He goes, "You just have to sit there, read the music, push the buttons at the right time, and look good." He goes, "You can handle that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I can handle that." So I go down to the CBC studios, right?
Okay.
And it's great. I know everybody in town. So all the guys from the Boss Brass are there. Rob McConnell's sitting there.
Wow. Love
Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Eddie Bickert on guitar. I mean, all the guys, right? Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, look at me, right? And so this guy gets out in front of us, and it's, I don't know, an afternoon TV show or something. I don't forget what it was. This guy comes out, and I said to Arnie, I said, "Who's that guy out there?" And he goes, "I don't know, some guy named Kenny Rogers or something." I went, "Oh, yeah, whatever." So, I mean, back in the early 70s, it was like, who? Kenny who?
Yeah. Oh,
so
man.
That was the funniest thing. I was like, I subbed for Guido. Didn't have to play a note, but boy, I looked good.
No one looked better, Terry. I love it.
Well, not at that age, that's for sure.
You know,
and you mentioned the cancer thing, and if people aren't clear, 3.5 years ago, actually, I had throat cancer out of the blue, and just one of those things apparently that just happens. I'm non-smoker my whole life, which so it was like total shock.
Yeah.
Doctors are like, "Oh no, actually, it's not a shock. We see it all the time." It's like, really? It's called HPV number 16. He goes, doesn't affect you your whole life. In your mid-60s, you get throat cancer. And our good friend Wayne Bergeron just went through the same thing. And he's fine. He's gotten over it. He's all in good health. I just talked to him the other day. Yeah, it's like, but and mine was, Wayne was lucky. His was stage 1. Yeah. Mine was stage 4 when I got in there.
Yeah, I remember.
And they were like, "This is Friday. Can you start chemo on Monday?"
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, yes, I can. No problem. I'm there. I'm with you.
Well, it's amazing to me. It barely slowed you down. I mean, my wife battled, I mean, we're friends. We all know about the cancer. My wife battled it too. But amazing, your work ethic. I know some days, man, you were in rough shape, but man, I just
stopped.
What's that, my man?
I never stopped.
Never stopped.
The doctors told me, they said, "Sir, you might want to just like book a room here in Jacksonville instead of driving 2 hours every day." And I said, "Excuse me, 20 minutes of radiation in the morning. What do I do for 23 hours and 40 minutes?" I said, "Are you out of your mind?"
Yeah.
I said, "That's not going to happen for me." And he said, "Well, you might go back and forth for the first month." He goes, "But the second month, you're not going to want to do that." Yeah. As you know me well, I drove right to the last day and went, "Ring the bell. Am I done? I'm good. See you later, guys."
To make more stuff, man.
Yeah, it slowed me down a little bit, but
barely.
Not that much.
No, it was inspirational. It was inspirational to watch, man. And I know you've been very vocal with our buddy Wayne Bergeron, and I know you guys talked, and I know that it was the same type of cancer too, I believe, right?
Oh, exactly the same. And he would call me. He goes, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
He'd call me every week. He goes, okay, here's what happened. What's next?
Oh.
It's like, well, here's what's next. He was lucky though, because his was early.
Yeah.
He never had to go through. I mean, as soon as I started, it's a little graphic, but they had to go with the feeding by the stomach tube. I'm like,
I remember.
what? And the guy said, well,
I brought you a shake once.
yeah, right.
I did.
You're not going to be able to eat any food. So what would you like to do? And I went, oh, that's not an easy option. He goes, it's a no option.
Yeah.
You want to live? You want to die?
Yeah.
You get a tube stuck into your. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. You were tough, man.
So,
I remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot of fun, but you know what? I look at it now, it's like, yeah, it was another bump in the road. A big bump.
We've all had bumps, but that was a big one, man. That was
a big bump.
That
was a big bump.
God bless you, man. I'm so happy.
But I've had other big bumps, like my factory and house burning down.
We're going to talk about that.
That was a bump.
Yeah. We've had a few bumps. I want to go, let's go chromatically, not chromatically. I'm talking like a musician.
Chromatically, I love it.
Let's go chromatic or dramatically. Let's go time-wise throughout. Let's just talk about what got you playing into the trumpet, man. Did your brother played tenor?
No, that's a good story. No, he played saxophone because I played trumpet.
Oh, okay.
He started after me. Here's the real story. Do we have time or do we have only 2 minutes?
2 minutes. No, we're good, man. I want to go through the whole thing, man. I love the way chronologically is the correct.
All right. So here's the true story. This is a great story, actually.
Give it to me.
So here I am, like 14 years old, getting out of public school, going to high school. You had 3 choices. You can play a musical instrument, you can sing,
okay,
or you could, I don't know, whatever the other one was. I don't know. You sing, you dance, I don't know, you play trumpet. I don't know. Whatever. There was a third option. I don't know what it was. I don't care. And so I'm like, I'm not really big on singing, but I have no idea what a damn musical instrument is. But yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that summer, I was actually a swimmer. I ended up actually, just for the record, I was on the Toronto citywide swim team championship for my high school. It was the first medal they ever won, citywide championship. And I was on that swim team. I was a swimming fish, dude.
You were a fish.
Oh, pardon the pun, fish. And so anyways, so that summer I'm up at the swimming pool and a good friend of mine, Earl Krentz, who I haven't talked to probably since, I was telling him, I said, man, I got to go to high school and I got to pick out an instrument. And he goes, oh, I play. I went, what do you play? He goes, I play trumpet. I went, really? Can you show me? And he goes, yeah, sure. Come on over. So I went over to his place, get out. Carl, shut up. Not Carl, the other guy, Steve. And so I get over there and he pulls out this trumpet. I'm like, wow, that's cool. And that summer, Herb Alpert is playing The Lonely Bull. And it's on the radio every day, right? That's where the story gets even better, right? So I'm like, yeah, I know what a trumpet sounds like. So he shows me how to play it. And I'm like, wow, cool. Okay, that's great. So I get to high school and I get to the band room and they decide, all right, who wants to play the trumpet? Everybody, right? Who wants to play tuba? Not so many. Who wants to play the euphonium? Nobody. And they still don't. And so anyways,
sorry, Dante.
Of course, the band director's like, all right, we can't all play the trumpet. So he says, here's what Brian Rose, wonderful man. He goes, here's what you do. Everybody's like, yeah, sure, right? Nobody's ever played a thing in their life, right?
Yeah.
So he puts a trumpet in everybody's face and they're like, he puts it in mine and went, and he goes, you play trumpet. And I went, okay.
Got it through. Got it out.
Just like that. I'm like, all right, I'll play trumpet.
Cool.
And so then about 6 months in, I picked up a French horn. Oh, dude, I was in love.
Really?
I'm going to play the French horn. There's no way. I got to play the French horn. I went to my band director. I said, Mr. Rose, I want to switch to play French horn. He goes, no.
Really?
You play the trumpet too well. I don't need another French horn player. I went, oh, okay.
Wow. Okay.
And that was the end of the French horn. But what does my son play?
French horn.
French horn.
That's hysterical, man.
So anyway, that's why I became a trumpet player. But the upside of this whole story, quit staring off into space, is I got to meet Herb Alpert at one of the ITGs or something, right? And we're off stage, and I said, Herb, it's your fault I played the trumpet. And Herb looks at me and goes, well, you know what, Terry? Seems it worked out pretty well for you.
He had a good career.
Yeah, he was funny. Matter of fact, he made a phone call once. I get a phone call here at the house where we are now. And my wife goes, honey, he says his name is Herb Alpert on the phone. I went, yeah, it could be. So I pick up the phone. And of course, it's Herb, right? He goes, Terry, he goes, listen. He goes, you know, I'm like 74. This is years ago already. He goes, I'm still playing, I'm still practicing. He goes, I don't practice enough. He goes, but everybody in town says I need a P.Ë.T. He goes, what the hell is a P.Ë.T? So I explained what it was, right? And he goes, yeah, I need one of those. He goes, can you get me one of those things gold plated? And I went, Herb, I'd love to, man. I said, you're like one of my heroes. It's like, you know, I'll get one shipped right out to you, you know, like no charge or nothing. And he goes, no charge. He goes, dude, you think I can't afford one of them damn things?
Yeah, with all his money.
Yeah, right. He goes, hold on, let me get my gold Amex. I'm like, yeah, I'll wait.
Yeah. Well, must put a couple extra trumpets and some mouthpieces on it too.
I know, right?
Open up your sound, Herb.
Yeah, you won't even notice. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we could do some wonders for you, my man. That's a great story. I love it. So that's what got you into it. Okay, cool. I'm going to hit you with one more question.
Just one?
Well, no, I have plenty, but you know, we have the peanut gallery, which I can't see the people's writing. I could see blurbs, and I know people have questions for you. But so you got into playing trumpet. What made you stop playing the trumpet?
That's a good story. So
I know you.
I know this is even better one. So there's this other kid in my high school. We're in like grade 10.
Okay.
And this little, I won't use the word. Beep, 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 beep. Anyways, him and I are having a high note contest one day because he could play high notes, right? Yep. And so could I. So we want one semitone higher than the next. And he crapped out at high G sharp.
Okay.
And I crapped out at double A. And all of a sudden it went, and I went, oh, that really hurt. Yeah. Well, the next day, middle C hurt. Eesh. I busted the muscle that goes across here. You ready for this one? It's called Satchmo Syndrome.
Really? I didn't know there was a name for it.
There is a name for it.
Satchmo Syndrome.
And yeah, where you actually bust the orbicus muscle, or some fancy name like that. Some guy that actually graduated high school knows what that name is. You know, yeah. I don't.
Very big
but
word.
Anyway, so I took a lesson with one of the best trumpet teacher in Toronto. His name is Don Johnson. Okay. So I had a trumpet lesson with Don. I sat down, I played. He goes, no, good. He goes, I said, just beautiful. I said, am I ever going to play like Maynard Ferguson? And he went, no. And I went, all right, fine.
That was it.
I closed the case, and I went back to the music store. I was working in the store already. Picked up a valve trombone. Okay, good. And at the time, I was playing in a Ukrainian wedding band on trumpet. Okay. I showed up that weekend at the gig, pulled up my valve trombone, and they're all like, what the hell is that thing? I went, I play this now. And they're like, what happened to the trumpet? And I went, I'll play a couple of notes in that too. Yeah. So I would play most of the night on valve trombone, and then I'd play on trumpet until it hurt too much. I would stop.
No kidding.
And eventually I just said, you know what? Trumpet hurts. And I can't play lead trombone because that's too much work.
Yeah.
So I played bass trombone.
Okay.
And I played bass trombone for like 10 years. I loved
that
it.
was the 10 years that you did the trombone.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I played bass trombone.
Okay.
Loved it.
Wow. Man.
Actually, we still make a mouthpiece that I made for myself, the TW bass trombone mouthpiece.
Oh, wow.
We still manufacture that thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. See,
Yeah.
I love, man. I always learn about my friends more when these things, it brings everybody together. That's great, Terry. Thank you, man.
I can't tell you all the stories, but I got more.
Well, there's a few in this, a lot that we can't talk about. So
There's one or two.
Yeah, maybe two. But speaking of which, I know our friend Stephen Wright's hanging out in the chat. What's going on over there? What's going on over there?
We got everybody kind of chiming in here, just kind of saying hello and listening to the beginning. A lot of the regular crowd. We got James, we got Greg and Brenda in Missouri. We got the president Noah, who I just saw Noah's jumping on the YouTube wagon now. Noah's starting his own channel. Good luck with that, Noah.
Noah what?
Yeah, everybody's kind of just saying hello. From all over Connecticut. We got Florida, we got Canada, we got Japan, we've got we got a couple CF horn owners. We got the Hang Monster Frank Benici, and we got Phil Gray. Loving the CF horn.
Phil Gray, the trombone player?
Phil Gray, the trumpet player from New York. I know that Phil Gray was on Maynard's band, and this is Phil Gray. You've met Phil a few times, and Johan's met him, and Kim's met him. He's a New York buddy of mine, great trumpet player, and so is Frank Benici. They're both playing the CF Warburton trumpet. So,
yeah. So everybody's just kind of saying hello and taking in the beginning right now. Don't have a lot of questions so far, but
thank God,
get them in here because put Terry on the spot.
Yeah, get them in while we can because, Terry gets up at like 3 a.m. So
this morning was 2:45.
That's right. So, and he's still hanging with us. So don't hold back your questions. If you have any questions, because, the pumpkin is going to come very shortly.
I know. I feel pretty good. The amaretto's working fine.
You look good. You're looking good. You're sounding good. So I got some more questions for you. So we talked about your early days. What inspired you when you were younger to start making mouthpieces and horns? And I know the mouthpieces came first. I'm sure Bob Giardinelli was in there as far as your inspiration, but was there a certain guy or is there a whole bunch? Who got you?
All right, here's the story, Carl. You don't even know all my whole stories.
No,
so here's the story. So because of the busted lip, I became interested in mouthpieces. And I was working along McQuaid, so I had access to a lot of mouthpieces. So we were a Giardinelli dealer. So I had the whole set of Giardinelli mouthpieces.
There it is.
And I figured out that if I got the biggest diameter mouthpiece and I moved it over so that the mouthpiece circled the bust, that I could play.
Interesting.
So here I am playing lead on a 1M Giardinelli mouthpiece. It's like a tuba mouthpiece, for God's sake, right?
Humongous.
But it was like, and I could still play. I'm like, yeah, all right, I can play, right? Matter of fact, and when I was still in high school, I was kind of like high school working part-time at Long McQuaid. The guy from the University of Toronto marching band came in. He heard me playing. He goes, "Hey, you marched in drum corps. Would you march like with the university band?" I went, "I don't go to university." He went, "I know that.
You're coming now."
Right? I was the soloist for the University of Toronto marching band.
Wow.
And I never went to university.
My man.
And it was so funny because some of the guys in the band, on the marching thing, they're like, "Dude, how come like you're the soloist? I haven't seen you at the School of Music or anything." And I went, "I don't go there yet." Like, "Well, how come you're the soloist?" And I went, "Well, I play better than you."
That's the modesty I'm talking about.
I know, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, next dumb question, of course.
I love it, man. It's great. I love it.
So anyways, so I got interested in the mouthpieces because of that.
Okay.
And I knew Giardinelli because we sold his pieces.
Yeah.
And
let's go back. So people who don't know, would it be a fair assumption to say, Terry, that these Giardinellis were the first interchangeable mouthpieces? Would you say?
no, actually, they were interchangeable screw rims.
Screw rims. Yep.
He was famous for that. The first guy that did interchangeable backbores was a guy named Tottle, Bill Tottle, I believe,
Really?
out of Boston. And he did it back in the 40s and 50s.
Wow.
But his system was so disorganized that it didn't make any sense.
Okay.
But I knew it was a good idea.
All right.
And so when I did it, I simply gave them a logical, with my Germanic background, generically, whatever. One of those few words. I decided I would call it like numbers 1 to 10.
Yeah.
I mean, a logical, right? 1 is small, 10 is big. Hello, that was easy. Until the symphony guys got there and went, 10's not big enough. Oh, well, let's make an 11 and a 12. And after 12, there's no backbore left.
Yeah. Oh
So
my.
I stopped. But I made a logical system out of it. And interestingly enough, years later, my good old friend Scott Lasky, bless his soul, and God rest him.
Yeah.
But he phoned me up and he goes, hey, what threads do you use on your backboards? He goes, there might as well be something standard in this damn industry. He goes, everybody's going to start making screw backboards. And I went, really? So they all use Warburton threads. I love it.
I remember that story, and I should have mentioned it. So you standardized the threading,
Yeah,
the industry, and called the Warburton thread, that's pretty cool, man. So Giardinelli was making a screw rim. My dad in the 70s, actually in the early 70s, I have a couple of them still here. So you had those cups and those mouthpieces. That's what interesting. Okay, and then that's beautiful, man.
yeah, I found it interesting. And when I first wanted to make mouthpieces in 74, I phoned Bob and I said, hey, would you mind if I come to New York City? And
yeah, let's back up. How did that happen? You just like, I'm going to call the guy that's making them. That was your headspace. What was your headspace?
Yeah,
I love it.
Pretty much.
Kids need to know this. This is great. You find the information. Right?
I decided to do something and I thought, well, I should find out how to do it.
Yeah, man.
So I phoned Bob and I said, Bob, can I come to New York and see how you do it? And he goes, sure, no problem. This is a great story, by the way. This is in Terry's memoirs.
All right.
So I go to New York. Bob's very gracious. He told me all around the shop and everything. And I said, Mr. Giardinelli, 24 years old. I said, Mr. Giardinelli, I said, it's okay if, you show me everything. And he goes, Terry, with his New York Italian accent.
Yeah.
I'll try to do it my best. He goes, Terry, he goes, don't worry about it. He goes, your chances of being a mouthpiece maker are like 0 to none. Went, well, that's fair enough. So I went back to Canada. My father sponsored me and got the money together. And trust me, I grew up poor. This was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So we go out and I see the lathe and I'm like, Dad, that's the one. So we buy this thing, right? They deliver it. I wish there was a video. I'm standing in front of this machine going, wow, that's complicated. I didn't even know how to turn it on.
Wow, man, really?
I'm looking at it. I'm going, all right, well, there's a lever here. Let me see what that one does. Whoa, all right, makes it go that way. All right, well, that way, makes it go the other way.
Wow.
That's true story. I mean, it was so stupid. I mean, what am I doing? I should have taken a lesson or something, right? Didn't come with an instruction booklet.
Yeah.
So anyways, I figured out how to make mouthpieces.
Wow.
5 years later, Bob and I are still friends. And I'm down in New York. I ended up marrying a girl from New York, and her and I are out on Bob's sailboat. He's a sailboater, by the way. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
He was the Commodore of the Bayside Yacht Club.
In Bayside, Queens.
Yeah.
Really? I love Bayside.
Bob was hardcore, dude.
Wow, I had no clue.
Loved to sail. Loved it. So
Awesome.
we're out sailing on his boat. It's like 32 foot or something like that. And we're out sailing. And Bob and his wife Rose, wonderful woman, and Robin and I were out there, and he goes, you know, Terry, he goes, I'd really like to have a guy like you work for me. I went, nah, you couldn't afford me. And he looks at me and goes, and this is the height of Giardinelli, right?
Yeah.
He's like 1978 or 79. And he goes, I doubt that. I said, well, you didn't ask what I would charge. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, and by this time, by the way, I had not only started the Mouthpiece company, I had opened up a retail music store.
Okay. So you already had the store in
Toronto.
Toronto.
So I already had like a store in Toronto selling band instruments.
Yeah, man.
This is what he did, made mouthpieces and sold band instruments. And I said, well, I'd have to end up owning Giardinelli's. And Bob looked at me and just flat out just went, what if that's what I had in mind?
Wow.
I went, well, I'll be here in 2 weeks on Monday.
There it is.
Just like that. And 2 weeks Monday, I went home to Toronto, talked to my family. My brother was running the store. And I just went, it's an opportunity. I can't say no.
Yeah.
I said, we could be the biggest band instrument mouthpiece maker in the US and Canada.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
29 years old. So 2 weeks Monday, I fly to New York. I'm standing on the doorstep. Bob walks up and he goes, yeah, I thought you'd be here. And we go up to his office and he goes, Terry, come on inside. He goes, you never asked me how much I'd pay you. And I said, well, that's because I figure you're just paying me the right amount.
Sure. Just
like that. And he's just like, you're a very strange man. I went, yes, sir.
Oh, I wish I had a video of that. That's beautiful.
Oh, man. No, the best video was when I got there, his secretary, Linda Denbin, I remember, wonderful, wonderful lady. She's like, Bob, the office is really crowded. Where are we going to put Terry? And Bob goes, well, I've got a big desk and a big office. He goes, and doesn't my desk have a pull-out thing on the front of it? He goes, yeah. Well, set him up in there.
Awesome.
In your private office. Well, his son-in-law, Ralph, at the time was just like, excuse me? Who the hell is this kid?
This kid from Canada.
Right? Yeah, right. To him, they was like, who's this kid?
Wow.
So at the end of the day, every day at 4 o'clock, Bob had Linda mix him a scotch and ice cubes.
Yeah.
4 o'clock. So she comes in, looks at Bob, looks at me, and she goes, Bob? And he's got the half glasses going on, which he always did, right? He goes, Terry, you want a scotch? I went, sure. So Linda brings in a scotch for me and Bob. His nephew's out in the office, main office, I think absolutely having a cow. No one else had a drink at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was just like, there you go, Bob.
The intuition told him. The intuition told him that you were hungry. You were hungry.
And I loved it. I loved the business. The time I spent there, which it was sad because it was 79. New York City was rough.
It was a horrible place in 70.
It was a horrible place.
Even early.
When I was at work at Bob's place, I was in heaven.
Yeah.
I was in heaven every day.
That's going to my next question. What was it around in 79 and 80 when you were at Bob's Giardinelli's place, being around all those great musicians? That was the hang. We're on a hang tonight, but it was about the hang at a music store, right?
Every day.
Faddis.
Every day. Marvin Stamm, John Faddis, Doc Cheatham.
Doc loved hanging. Even when I was doing retail, Doc would hang.
Vacchiano, it's like Maurice Andre, the Maurice Andre story. That's a funny one because while I'm working there, right, Maurice Andre comes in and he doesn't speak a whole lot of English, like no English, right?
Okay.
So being from Canada, I happen to be, this is another side story. I was in the first French class in public school ever.
Wow.
When I was in 8th grade, they chose 8 students, the smartest kids, I don't know why they picked me, to study French.
Okay. Wow.
So I had it like from before they even had it in school in the English part of Canada.
Yeah.
I was in the French class.
Okay.
And for me, language, it's like music. It's like it's in your ear. So it's like it was easy. So I get there at Giardinelli's, and Bob's like, oh shit, he only speaks French. And I went, I can speak a little French. He goes, what? I went, oh, yeah, I grew up in Canada. I said, yeah, I speak a little French. Yeah, so I was the translator for Maurice Andre all day, which is why that picture was taken.
Unbelievable.
Because me, Bob, and Maurice hung out for the whole day because I was the translator. Which, by the way, was not that easy. My French was not that good.
Bigger, make it bigger.
Could have been a lot better, but it was better than Bob's.
Yeah. So it was a really nice time, I bet, when you were there at Giardinelli's. And
it was awesome. It was awesome. But I've got some stories that probably we can't share in public right now.
That's okay.
But remind me sometime and I'll tell you about them.
Please, when we go to dinner and have a drink, we'll talk about them.
Or two.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. So that's a good segue because we're going to jump into the next next decade of stuff. But before we do, how's everybody doing on the hang? Everybody around? Steven, what's going on over there?
Yeah, we got some questions starting to flow in.
Let them flow.
Also, just a couple people saying thank you to Terry. We got Joseph saying I play a Warburton 6S with an 8 backbore all day, every day. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Ryan says I'm playing a 4SV and alternate the Q and New York backbore for about 20 years. Thank you, Terry.
I gotta love it.
Yeah. So got a couple other things, but there's one that's a little bit geekier. But you mentioned the saxophone stuff in your intro, Carl, and Terry, your foray into the saxophone world. Our good friend Mike MacArthur is asking, how that connection and inspiration to the saxophone mouthpieces came around. He has one and loves it.
Awesome. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can field that question.
There you go. It's all yours.
All right. So there I was. It was a dark and stormy night.
I was walking on the beach.
No, I wasn't. It was raining. So anyways, my brother James, who's a great saxophone player, we got talking one day, and he goes, "You know what, Terry?" He goes, "You're such a genius with all this brass stuff." He goes, "Why don't you fix the saxophone?" I said, "Fix the saxophone?" I said, "I already hate the goddamn saxophone. Why would I fix it?" So we got, and he goes, "No, seriously." He goes, what's what? And I said, "Well, all right, let me think about it." So I started agonizing about the saxophone. How does it work? Why does it work? I mean, I learned how to play when I worked at the music store because I actually taught myself how to play everything. I could test a bassoon, for God's sakes. I learned to play everything. My first job was to test 400 clarinets that came back from rental.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was Acker Bilk, for God's sakes, by the end of the summer. You don't even know who that is. You're too young.
Yeah, sorry.
Acker Bilk? Come on, dude. Come on, research. Carl's going to research right now.
A little Google.
Anyways, so I learned how to play like everything. So I understood the saxophone. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? I think it's the neck. He goes, okay, what about it? I said, I think it's wrong. The design is wrong. He's like, what? How do you know? And I went, well, I don't know. I just think.
Yeah.
I said, he goes, well, I'll tell you what. I've got my Yamaha, whatever it was, Yamaha de jour, and I just bought a new Yamaha neck. So I can send you my old Yamaha neck and you do what you want. So he sent it down and I looked at it and I thought about it even more, about the mouthpieces and everything. And I said, James, I said, I got to cut about 1.5 inches off your neck. And he goes, and then what? I said, well, then I'm going to put a piece on it that's going to make it play better. Okay. And you sure about this? And I went, well, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty good about it. So anyway, what I figured out was, as I analyzed this is top secret information for probably people out there, but that's okay. I don't care. I'm old. You can have this. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, the reed is like our lips. That's the vibration point, right? As a brass player.
Yes, sir.
The inside of the sax mouthpiece is like the cup.
Yep.
If it's bigger, it's deeper. It's the same relationship, right? Essentially, in terms of tonal quality.
Yep. Deeper, the darker, the shallower, the brighter.
And then think about this, Carl. They take the trumpet top and they stick it on the lead pipe and hope for the best. It'll work, but
nothing consistent.
Not very well.
Nope.
They're missing a backbore.
Yeah, no backbore.
The connection between the top pieces and the rest of the tube.
Top piece and a lead pipe, like a trumpet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to make backbores for the saxophone. My brother's like, what?
Yeah.
I went, work with me.
Oh,
so I
got it up. Yeah, look at him.
I machined up some stuff and we put it together. And a good friend of ours, Bruce Nardi, saxophone player, local guy.
Yep.
Repairman, good repairman.
Great repairman, yeah.
Bruce came out and he played like 3 notes and we're just like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah.
And my brother was on the phone at the time and he goes, oh my God,
yeah,
you did it? And I went, yeah, I think so. I said, that was just the first one.
Yeah, man.
And I came out with like different diameters, different shapes.
Yes.
For, tonal quality. And I knew that that was like the missing part, as many saxophone players, a guy in Dylan Music once, excuse me, he goes, I feel like I have 1 saxophone instead of 3, where every register is like a new saxophone.
Yeah, sure.
He goes, your neck makes this feel. It's just like it's one thing.
One octave.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, I'm very proud of that. And, we actually, that's the one of all the things I've done, that's the one thing we have a US patent for is Terry saxophone neck.
Good.
And I often thought it's like, God forbid, at the end of my life, I'm famous for fixing the saxophone and nothing to do with the trumpet.
No, man, I've seen it firsthand too, because I was a Yamaha artist. I love Yamaha. I love the people at Yamaha, both on trumpet and tenor.
Yeah, they're good people.
They're great people. And they're giving me necks to play, because I'm playing some stuff with Billy in the upper register on tenor that I would normally not play. I play down an octave. It's in tune. I'm like, it's driving me nuts. And then I came over to your factory. I'll never forget. And your buddy threw a neck in the horn. And I was like, oh my God, wait, the pitch is what? Huh? Hello? It was so much. It was so everything lined up. I'm like, and to this day, I still play that same neck. It's been 4 years, 3-4 years. Yeah, no.
Well, one of the other things about the neck was, as I looked at the sax situation, almost every saxophone, the saxophone is a totally tapered instrument from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
When you get to the tenon that connects the neck to the body, they got a cylindrical tube and soldered it in. And I was like, well, okay, maybe that's the way it's done. So the original ones I made were like that.
Okay.
And they played better, but I agonized about, doesn't make sense. Why is there this cylinder in the middle of a conical instrument?
Wow.
So it's not like it's a big piece of tubing. But I got one, I put it on the machine and I tapered it just 20 thousandths top to bottom.
Which is
isn't a whole lot.
It's not a lot, but for a real player, they're going to know the difference.
As soon as we screwed that thing in and compared it to the straight one, night and day. Where did it affect it most? In the bottom register. It's like, wait a minute, fixing this end of the saxophone, fix that end of the saxophone? Yeah, you gotta be kidding me.
Acoustics.
But it was night and day. And as much as a pain in the ass it is to make those parts, if that's the best way to make it, that's how we make it.
Wow.
And I'm very happy. I'm very pleased that we came up with that idea. It's like, well, this is a true story too. I was at a saxophone show over in, I don't know, France, I think, or the States or somewhere. And one of the sons of the Selmer factory, Selmer saxophones, was there. And he looked at it and he goes, Terry, he figures a damn trumpet player would figure this damn thing out.
Wow.
And I said, honestly, I said, I'd be happy if you guys would take this on. And he goes, Terry, we're French. We would never admit that we were wrong.
Wow.
I just laughed. I went,
yeah,
I get it.
Wow.
He goes, we've been making our necks like that for 100 years. He goes, are you kidding?
Yeah.
We'd have to admit that we were wrong.
All these years. Wow.
It's like, guess what? You were wrong. And what has every other saxophone maker done? Copied the same thing.
Yep. Copy the same thing. And then when you guys get real players, not that, there's guys that are playing stock necks, which is great. But when I know a lot of guys that will change necks and mouthpieces like it's their underwear, and to find that magic combination. When you find it, it's so you're talking about venturis and bores and back bores and tenors. When you're drawing up a lead pipe for a trumpet, because I've been privy to, I pulled some lead pipes with you, love doing it. I have a blast doing it with you. I know you make the drawings of the lead pipes, and that was another thing that really interested me, the way the horn blew and the way the horn slotted with the slot receiver. There's a lot of those things, the same painstaking mentality that you have, what keeps you up and wakes you up in the morning, like, okay, I got to have this together now. Are those discontinuities in a cylindrical bore compared to a tapered bore that goes through your head? I mean, how does that change for trumpet, or is it the same concept?
Carl, you give me far too much credit.
What?
Honestly, it's like my trumpet backboards. You know how I did it? I know a lot of people are like, did you study the physics and the acoustics and the? It's like, no, actually, I looked at it and I said, well, that's a nice shape. That should work.
That should work.
Simple. So when I manufactured those lead pipes and I cut them on the lathe and I did this and I looked at it and I went, yeah, that should work.
The KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. I love it.
It's like, you know what? I think it's more like, somebody once called me an intuitive genius. You don't really understand what you just did,
but you did it.
But you understand what you did.
Oh, it's great, man.
And I think that I try to approach it that way. It's like, I don't want to get all caught up in this, like the numbers. It's like numbers. We play a musical instrument, for Christ's sake. Numbers. We're making music. It's like, if that shape makes that sound, then that's a good shape. Well, what is it acoustically?
Well,
I don't know. It's a good shape.
How many times? Yeah, how many times? It's funny because you and I have this talk millions of times when I'm at the factory. I'll play something. I'm like, it's a little tight, blah blah blah, and it's and you'll say, well, it sounds like a trumpet, but I'm like, well, here it's bright, but here I want dark, and so we talk about shapes and sounds. We don't talk about numbers, and a lot of people get really messed up on a number. Which
totally hung up.
That's why I think we get along with, because we can, it's the understanding of, okay, well, let's try it this way. Let's let our ear tell us what it is, man.
Well, one of the expressions we have at our factory is, if it sounds good and it feels good, it is good, even if our name isn't on it.
Which is beautiful. You don't take yourself. Yeah. You don't take yourself seriously that way. Yeah. Hey, man.
We're all musicians. It's like, guess what? It's all about making the music. It's not about making Terry rich, because that's never going to happen. We're in the musical instrument business.
Especially now when no one has a gig.
Oh, please. When I first met my wife, Ann, as you well know her, she goes, so what kind of business are you in when all your customers are broke-ass trumpet players? I went, well, what does that tell you?
God love her. God.
I said, trust me, I'm in this business
There she
because
is.
I
Beautiful.
love being in this business. That's why.
Yeah.
I said, it's a different story, but there was someone in the industry that ended up being not in the industry and selling out all their equipment, and he wanted me to buy some of it, or asked if I wanted to buy some of it.
Yep.
And I said, I'd be interested in that. And then he called and he goes, so why do you think that you can make money with this equipment and I couldn't? And I went, actually, it's a very easy answer. I want that equipment to make great trumpets, and you wanted the equipment to make money. That's the problem.
Remember that. That's beautiful.
And it's so true. I haven't talked to him again. I'm not sure why.
I wonder why. But the proof is in the pudding, man. I remember, again, I keep on going back to that 45th anniversary concert. We had a concert in a factory, 2 days of factory parties and tours. And
that's on YouTube, by the way, that concert.
Is it on
it
YouTube?
Is.
Oh,
it's
cool.
fantastic. Yeah. And you're featured, by the way.
Well, I'm big. I'm an extra large, so I have to.
Well, I know you're big.
I'm big. I'm big. I take up the whole screen. That's why I was featured.
Oh, no. You and Demondre Thurman filled up the screen.
Yeah, me and my man Demondre, who plays euphonium, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah, no. That was a great night.
He thinks it's a baby tuba.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at with that concert, and I knew this beforehand too, and I'm not blowing sunshine up your ass. I'm just being straight. You and I've seen you come to shows, whether it be a small trade show and a quintet playing, or a 45th concert or a Billy Joel concert. You get so much joy out of hearing the instruments that you've made and the equipment that you've made, and you're there for the right reasons. To me, I mean, it's not about a number. It's about, we know each other a long time, man. This is a small business. And
I enjoy listening to other people's equipment. I mean, it's a musician first and a businessman second.
So, yeah.
I've just been lucky enough to make a living doing what I do. Is one of my favorite expressions. It's only work when you'd rather be doing something else. I've never worked a day in my life.
I love that. That's great.
I've enjoyed every day of my life. I mean, there's a reason I get out of bed at stupid AM. Yeah. I can't wait.
That's awesome.
Get up and get something done and make people happy, and you get responses from around the world with players playing your stuff that you made with your hands and your mind and made their lives better. It's like, are you kidding me?
It's a win-win.
It doesn't get any better than that.
I love that. Speaking of which, why don't Stephen, I'm sure you have a whole bunch of questions, but you also have a video that kind of goes along with that line you were talking about earlier. I'll leave it up to you what you want to do, Stephen.
Oh yeah. I can run that. This is it's actually just a clip from the trailer video that we made for the release of the CF horn. And I took a little piece of that of Terry talking. So.
And
1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because it's the same mantra what you said, which is very consistent in the way you think, which I love. So yeah, if you can spin it, man.
Yep.
Spin that for us.
Here you go.
As an instrument manufacturer, it's wonderful to deal with great players, people like Mike Vax, people like my friend Carl, that are
lip
true
syncing
students of the instrument, that understand it, that love it, that want to improve it, that want to find things to make it better, which makes my life happier. There's nothing better than, for example, when I was just watching the Billy Joel concert live, thanks to Carl, and seeing him up on stage was something that I had soldered together and designed, and
two of them on stage,
prototyping them, listen to how good they sounded, and I thought, you know what, that's what this is all about. This puts a smile on my face.
So it rings true. What you said there is basically the same thing. You love hearing you're we didn't get to hear the video because it just is what it is, but you guys heard basically the same concept of what we were just talking about. Terry is, he loves hearing his stuff being played, and that I'm sure is one of the reasons why you wake up in the morning, which is a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
No, normally I wake up to go feed the chickens, wake them up.
Well, remember it used to be the rabbits back in the day. So I'm gonna jump to the rabbits with Johan. 88. I go to the freaking place. He's in Florida, in Orlando, somewhere in Orlando. I meet
North of Orlando.
North Orlando, that's right. I go with Bill Churchfield, a lead trumpet player at Tower of Power. I'm there hanging out. I met you once before or twice before. The first time at the factory, and Johan's a little young kid with a cowboy hat on. You have the rabbit coop. And so I'll leave that whole story out because it was hysterical. But we have lunch and it's beautiful. And that's when I've seen your passion, and you were working at that factory, and the wonderful Kenny Timmis, and there's Johan right now. We're going to talk about Johan in a minute because he's the apple off the tree, man. It's wonderful. And Ken has been by your side. You guys survived. You had a house and factory fire, and we touched on it in the beginning of it. Basically, you lost all your tooling in your whole house. How do you get past that? How was that? Must have been, I know it was a horrible time. It was a speed bump, obviously.
It was a big speed bump, but you go to bed and you wake up and you start over. Matter of fact, I was interviewed by a TV station, and they were like, Mr. Warburton, you've lost like 25 years of accumulated stuff that what are you going to do? And I went, well, knowing what I know now, I should be able to get all that stuff back in about 10 years. It took 11, but I have as much stuff now as what burned up in the fire. So it's like, well, it was a speed bump, but you know what? You have to wake up and just go, all right. Like my wife, I was 55 at the time, and she goes, what are you going to do? And I went, no, clean up and start over. Why was there a choice?
No choice.
What else is I going to do? I mean, to me, it wasn't even like, gee, I guess I should go sell shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, what? I've got to clean up and I got to start over and figure out how to start again. So I sold that piece of property, got the insurance from the house, bought some equipment, rented a small shop, and away I went.
And was that shop North Orlando? Is that when you went over to the East Coast to MIMS? When did that?
Yeah, after the fire, I actually started on that same piece of property, and then found out that legally I couldn't do it or whatever. So I said, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to sell the property, use the money.
Okay.
And I rented a place in Oviedo, which is a suburb. Yeah. And then we decided, you know what? I forget. I was like 59 or 60, 59, I think. And I thought, well, maybe I'll slow down and we'll just get a place in the country, and I'll have a little workshop, and I'll do a cook. And I'll slow down, right? Yeah. And then Kenny invented the T.Ë.T.
Kenny Timmis.
Yeah, so much for like relaxing and slowing down. Next thing you know, we've sold over 55,000 of those, by the way.
That's where you're at now, 55,000 of the T.Ë.T.
Yeah. And we have Chinese knockoffs, which means we really did it right.
Yeah, because they're copying you. The emulation of duplication is, I guess,
it's a bad copy, but it's okay.
It's a bad.
Go
copy.
ahead.
Yeah, no,
go ahead.
Copy.
Yeah, no, they messed. They didn't quite figure out what it was that we did, but that's okay. But yeah, it was Kenny's idea, and I told him, I said, "That's a great idea." Matter of fact, about 6 months ago, we had Doc Severson calls up and he goes, "Terry, I just want to call you and tell you that Pete thing, that's goddamn thing other than practicing."
It is. It
saves out of the blue.
It saves me weekly. When I'm not playing, I put that in for a half hour. I do my isometrics on it, and then I pick up a horn a day later, and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah. And all over the world, guys use that, and they absolutely love it and have great results if they use it correctly. Yeah. One of the funniest stories.
Don't overuse it.
Oh, no, the best story is Eric Mishiro, right?
Oh, yeah, I love him, yeah.
He phones you up. He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, I got that thing. He goes, and I thought, wow, this is great. This feels great. He goes, so I went at it for about an hour.
Yeah.
And he said, and then I had a big orchestra gig recording the next morning. He goes, that was a big mistake. He goes, and then I went home and I read the instructions.
Yeah. No, it's a workout, man. Even a half hour is too much if you're not accustomed to it. I tell my students and even advanced players, give yourself 3-5 minutes a day the most. Right?
Yeah. Don't. Roger Ingram says, yeah, I'm up to 45 minutes. I went, please don't tell anybody that.
Yeah, because it'll mess you up. And he has the best thing. It's a gig on a stick, is what he called it, right?
Yeah, that's a great expression. He goes, if you can't play a gig, use this, and you'll feel like you played a gig.
Yeah, and
but
that's your partner, Kenny. Oh, not your partner, but Kenny's been with you for how many years now?
He has been 32.
As long as I've known you. I've known
34. 34.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
He started in 86, just before we moved to the Orlando area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great trumpet player and wonderful cat.
Oh, both of the above. Yeah. And a great guy. And I've been a lucky man to have him at my side.
Yeah.
As a partner. And I mean, I gave him part of the company, by the way.
Okay, cool.
So he is a partner.
Yes, sir.
And it's been great. I mean, he's just been a trooper. He's so knowledgeable about stuff. He's a great trumpet player.
Yeah.
First time I went to hear him on a gig, I was just like, damn, really? That quiet little dude is like, you can play like that?
Yeah, he's got some fire, man. We love Kenny.
Oh, man. Like he says, he likes to dominate when he plays lead trumpet. And it's like,
whenever I get pissed off at your factory, I'm like, I'm hunting for something or my head's messed up. Kenny, come here. I'll play something. And he'll look at me and he'll go, and I'll play something else. He goes, that has the fire. Very quietly. He goes, that has the fire. I'm like, okay, thanks. Sets me straight. He goes, that's the one you want. I'm like,
oh, yeah. He understands. I mean, a lot of times it's like, you know what? We just want to listen. We don't care what the numbers say. We don't care whatever it is. Just play and we'll tell you that one's right. That one's wrong. Yeah. That one's the one that works.
Very unassuming though. He'll go,
oh, I know. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you and I like this. What the hell? We're running around.
Yeah. Kenny's the calm, cool, collected. Keep it all in one. Don't worry about it. I got
you and I cursing and throwing shit. Oh,
Carl, me? I wouldn't do that. Well, maybe.
I was gonna say, Carl, before we go past those two subjects, I did have a couple questions come in regards to. I had one question about related to the fire, and then one in relation to the heat.
It was warm.
Yeah. Apparently, there was a rumor that the fire department wouldn't let you try to put the flames out yourself until the truck got there. Is that true? Somebody's asking.
It's kind of true, and it actually was very pathetic in the reality of things, because they wouldn't let me save anything, even though I pointed out that I'm asking them and say, well, what are you guys going to do? Well, there's no people and there's no pets, and it's just all property. And I went, excuse me, this side of the building's not burning and the wind is blowing from the back that way. So would you mind if I went in and got out a few things on the part of the building that's not on fire? The cop told me, you go in there and I'll arrest you. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is my house, my stuff burning up. You got to be kidding me. Oh. Yeah, it was absolutely, it was like a travesty.
I had no idea.
Travesty. Oh. And it was like, guys, it's like if I had a fire hose or just a garden hose 2 hours ago, I'd have put this thing out. Oh. And you come out here and the first thing they said was, where's the closest fire hydrant? Hello? Aren't you the fire department? Don't you know where the closest fire hydrant is to where I am? By the way, I'm half a mile down a dirt road. Wow. I said, I have a pond. Can you collect water from the pond to put it out? No, it'll clog up the filters. Oh, okay. No, believe me, it was stupid.
Wow.
It was stupid. Yeah. It was absolutely dumb. However, when the ammunition started blowing up and the firemen ran behind their trucks, I got my revenge.
You see, you always see the good side of things. I love it.
It was in the newspaper. I actually have the copy of the newspaper. Firemen hid from exploding ammunition.
See, I told you guys I wanted to get some things out.
I told them.
Like, you didn't listen.
The fireman asked me, he goes, well, I said, well, the ammunition is like just inside. You might want to like get it out of there. Well, how much ammunition? And of course I had to think carefully. I said, oh, it's about 1,000 rounds or something like that. Yeah.
Give or take.
Well, I didn't say how many different calibers that. But when the shotgun shells started going off, they ran.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
And the cop came to me and he goes, Mr. Warburton, he goes, how many rounds are in there?
I know you had some rounds because when we first hung at that thing with Johan was, it was for me being a New York boy coming down to that. I was like, wow, this is pretty intense. I loved it. It was unbelievable. It was like, I couldn't wait to tell my friends. I'm like, I went to Terry Warburton and he had a farm and he had all these things. It was unbelievable. That was cool.
And a firing range in his backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys will get a kick out of this. Kim just chimed in and said that the headline from the newspaper was "Firemen Dodge Flames, bullets."
at a mouthpiece factory.
Right. Yeah.
Who knew?
Oops.
Yeah. Well,
you'll love this one. Greg Black came down to visit once, right? And Greg's a great friend of mine.
Wonderful cat.
And of course, he's a
great mouthpiece maker. We'll talk.
Oh, that too.
People don't know. If people who don't know Greg Black or not trumpet players, Greg Black is also, would you say, I would also say he's a wonderful guy and a great mouthpiece manufacturer.
Oh, both of those for
great
sure.
cat.
And a good friend, a very good friend for many, many years.
Nice cat.
And Greg came down, and of course he was from New Jersey, so of course they don't allow guns or something. They're all Democrats up there. Oh, sorry. And so I let him fire one of my rifles, and he goes, well, what are we going to shoot? And I said, well, I'll put a concrete cinder block out there, right? He goes, we're going to shoot that? And I went, are you going to try to shoot it?
Yeah.
So Greg gets my 7.62 by 54 Russian sniper rifle and pulls the trigger, and the concrete block disappeared. He just turned to me and goes, oh my God.
Yeah. Now being from the North, man, not shooting guns, you're like, oh my God, this is what's going down here in Florida. I'm like, this is a mess. What did I get myself into? I'm looking around. Like,
all right. While we're on this topic, I got to tell this one story, and I forget who it was, but if he ever sees this, remember. So I get a phone call from this guy, and Carl, you were there, right? So it's a half a mile down a dirt road. There's single lane down through the woods, and this guy, I get a phone call, and he goes,
"You got to know where it's at. You got to know where it's at."
And he goes, "Yeah, Mr. Warburton." He goes, "I'm looking for the factory, and I'm on this dirt road and off of Florida Avenue." And I went, "Oh yeah, just keep coming back. You're almost here." He said, "Well, yeah, I'm from the city. I'm not kind of used to this." And I went, "No problem." So I thought, okay, I got this guy. So I go inside and I put on a pair of sunglasses and I get out whatever piece of armament it was, right?
Oh,
and this guy, he pulls up right in his car, and I'm standing there. And he rolls the window down. He goes, "I'm looking for Mr. Warburton." I went, "Yes, sir. Do you have an appointment?" "Yeah, I do." I said, "All right. Just come on inside." And I went inside, and the guy's like, I was getting a little nervous.
Oh man!
Oh, it was pretty. We had a lot of fun out there.
I'll even, one of the things I remember going to your desk in '88, and you opened up a drawer, and you said, pick your poison. I was expecting trumpet mouthpieces, and you had guns. He said, pick your poison. I'm like, huh? What are you going to, I'm going to shoot myself? What am I going to do? He goes, no, we're going to go out target practice. That's what I was like, okay.
This is a good story. Clark Terry calls me up one day. Not Clark Terry. I'm sorry. No, that's a different story, but it's not one I'm going to tell in public.
God rest his soul, Clark.
Yeah. Nat Adderley calls me.
My trumpet my trumpet teacher.
So Nat wants to come out to the shop, the same one you were at, right?
Yeah, from Lakeland. He lived in Lakeland, so it wasn't
Yeah.
far at the time.
Right. So he drove over, comes out to the woods. Well, I had just bought the place recently, and I hadn't like cleaned up everything from the previous tenants.
Okay.
So as he's leaving, he goes by this big giant oak tree, and there's a big rope hanging from it. With him, used to probably pulled car engines or some stupid thing, right? And he rolls down the window. He goes, Terry, should I ask about that, or should I just get the hell out of here?
That's just on top of that. Oh.
But it's a better story, because the day he was there, I opened up that same desk drawer and I pulled out a card, and it said, Terry, keep swinging, Nat Adderley. Because I said, oh, we've met before. And he goes, no, we've never met before. And I went, well, yes, we have. He goes, what?
Yeah.
I said, I was 17 years old, and I was at the bar in Toronto, underage, and you autographed this for me. It was great. Carl, you can come back now.
One of my prized possessions.
No doubt.
I was studying with him around the same time. It was 88, 80, 87, 88.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, he was such a positive influence in a lot of people. I remember going to his house in Lakeland, and he lived
Beautiful
on a lake
guy.
too. He loved lakes, and he had a place on a lake. And I remember, I want to study with you. He goes, you ain't studying with me, nothing. We're again, the premise of this show is the hang. We're hanging.
Yeah.
And we'd go to his lake, and we'd sit on his lake. Look at that alligator. There's a snake. All right. What do you think of Dizzy Gillespie on this recording? I'm like, Mr. Adderley, I don't know recording. Okay, well, we're gonna go listen to it. And we go listen to it and talk to me about it. And we'd be to hang. I'd hang with him all day. And then like those stories that you're telling about, his sense of humor and
Oh, Nat was great, man. And I told him, I said, man, I've loved you from the time I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
Loved
underrated cat, right? Underrated.
Love themes with the Nat and Adderley brothers playing. Yep. Dude, that was some of the greatest cornet playing I've ever heard in my life.
How about that record? Remember him and Clark Terry did a thing where they went for each other's throat on a Jimmy Heath record. Trenton Austin and I were talking about this in one episode. Our first episode we did, and Clark Terry and Nat were going for each other's throat, but it was a love. You could tell they loved each other, and they were one-upping each other. It was crazy. They were going up semitones, but it was so soulful. And those guys are the guys that we listened to and we looked up to, and now they're not here. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to see and work with all these guys, which is, you know,
you know what? I've had a great life. I mean, really, I've met so many wonderful people. Somebody brought in a Humes and Berg mute the other day, and I'm like, I was friends with Willie Berg, the founder of Humes and Berg. Wow. It's like, yeah, Willie was a great guy. He loved me. His son to this day, he's like, I don't, you mean he's already old. He goes, I don't know what the old man saw in you. He goes, but boy, he sure liked you. Yeah, Willie was funny. Cool. He was a great guy. Yeah, I really had an envious life.
Yeah.
Of meeting wonderful people, wonderful players, great people. Yeah, I mean, it's been a rewarding life, even to this point, and I'm still young.
Yeah. You know, you're only going to get 3 hours of sleep tonight instead of 4.
Maybe less.
how you guys holding up? You have any more questions? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
How you holding up, Terry? You have a couple more questions in you, or are you going to call sword?
No, I got a couple more ounces though, so I'm good.
All right, let's go for it. What do you got, Steve-O?
All right. Before we get too far away from the Pete, we did have a question, and Kim, thank you for helping out with that question. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, do you think that the Pete is most effective for players on off days or in combination with a normal practice schedule?
I know that answer.
That's a Carl question.
I figured you would.
Yeah, honestly, I love the Pete. I don't deal with the Pete when I'm playing that day unless it's early. Let's say if I have an 8 o'clock show and I haven't played in a couple days, I might do 5 or 10 minutes of the Pete early at like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. and have 12 hours to recoup. I will never play a Pete 3 or 4 hours before a gig. That's just not the right thing to do for my muscle groups. And I think for a lot of
anybody's muscles groups.
Thank you. Yeah. So no, it's definitely an off day thing for me. And I think Terry, you said it best. I mean, I'll let you follow up and finish it because you don't want to made it.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where, if anybody's ever worked out heavy on some weightlifting, it feels great that day. And the next day you're hating life.
Yeah.
That's what the Pete will do for you, only it'll do it quicker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like Eric found out in Japan, he was like, it felt good. And then it felt really bad.
Yeah. Well, you even say, and I say, you and Kenny say you do an isometric muscle exercises. And even if you do them and you put the horn on your face that day, you're already behind the 8 ball because you already worked out those muscles. You know, so guys that can do that, like Roger Ingram, the sick trumpet players that can do it because they're abnormal and have super muscle sets, that's one thing. But as a advanced to a beginning player, man, to be very cautious of it. It can actually
way cautious, because we've had people call up, man, that thing really messed me up. It's like, well, what did you do? And then they tell you, you're like, okay, did you read the instructions? Really? Yeah. Did it tell you not to do that?
Yeah, I can actually give you an analogy of my real life. Let's say, with Billy's gig, we're never doing back-to-back gigs, but let's say I have a week off, and that week I went fishing 3 or 4 days that week. And I had life 2 other days that week that I had to take care of business or what have you. I didn't get to play for 4 or 5 days. So the first thing I'll do is either coffee or after dinner, I'll have that Pete in my mouth and I'll do my Pete exercises. And I'll do it, like I said, I can be up to a half hour now, and I'll be burning and hurting, and I know when to stop. It's just like working out. You don't want to stress out the muscle too much.
Yeah.
The next day when I get on a horn, I'll do my fundamentals. I'll do my whole warm up routine for an hour, and then I'll lay it down for an hour or two and come back to it and then work on music. And then I'll do the next day. So it's a precursor to my playing regimen. So let's say I'm 3 days before a Billy gig. The Pete is the first thing, and then 2 days of practice after that, and then usually gets me back to where I never left the horn. And that is unheard of. That instrument, that Pete, is unheard of because I never had that before. I couldn't lay off a horn for 4 or 5 days and feel good about it.
I remember Wayne was telling me that when the Big Fat Band, they were flying over to do a gig in Japan. Yes. And of course, you're on the airplane for like 10, 11, 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
And most of the stewardesses don't like you to practice the trumpet while you're flying.
Nope. Wonder why.
I don't know why. I don't get it myself.
The other thing is they don't like you like when you ask them to come into the bathroom with you. I don't think like that.
I've never done that, so I wouldn't know the answer to that question. So, but when they ask you to go to the bathroom with them, I understand the problem. But he was saying, he said the whole trumpet section working on the Pete, he goes, because when we get there, we got an hour before the gig.
Yeah.
He goes, who's been practicing? Nobody.
Yes.
But who needs chops? Everybody.
It's all about the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, as soon as Kenny came up with that, I was like, dude, you just changed the trumpet world.
You did. And you did too.
Like,
you machined it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I refined it and I did the machining because, I mean, otherwise it would have been like one guy with a great idea that no one ever heard of.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure there's lots of those in the world.
Sure. And
But
watch Terry's video. Everybody that's interested in the P.Ė.T, spend the time. Go on. Terry has a wonderful website. There's a lot of product on there because he does a lot of things. But search the videos out with Terry talking about the P.Ė.T, and Terry explains it to the T. So if you haven't watched that video, and Kim, maybe you can put a link to it because that video is game changing. I tell my students, watch this video before you do it, and you explain it perfectly, dude. You really do.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I mean, it's a great tool used properly, and a very bad weapon used inaccurately.
Well, I think we hit that one.
I made him laugh. That's good. I like that. That's
there we
good.
go. We got a couple. We got a couple related to the CF horn. There's one I think is going to be a quick answer before we hit those two though. We've got somebody.
CF stands for Carl Fischer.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure who that Carl Fischer guy is. I think he writes and prints music very well.
Yeah.
I finally made him laugh too.
Well, Nathaniel,
he's a horrible trumpet player. Ass.
Nathaniel says he actually just got to meet Terry a few weeks back when he went to try out the CF horn at the factory himself. Like, I can tell you that will be my next horn. Love these cats. So thank you for that, Nathaniel.
Good. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Sorry,
George,
I couldn't have been there.
Yeah, George is asking, George Barr is asking how you came to settle on the medium bore for your horn, Carl.
It wasn't a settle. I knew early on, and Terry and I had this talk a few times. I came out of.
I'm going for ice cubes.
I came out of. I have 3 of these horns. This is my dad's 1958 Constellation 38B original plating. There's some of my trumpet. I have 39 to 40 horns back there. I have Maynard Ferguson's 1961 Constellation also. Medium bore, all medium bores with a big bell, with a big throat. I love that combination. It wasn't conventional. When I had to play recordings and play with a lot of big bands and play with a lot of sections, it didn't really blend well, but that was my sound. I liked the resistance, but it never felt tiny. So I knew for years going through different manufacturers, when I was with Besson, when I was with Kahn, when I was at Yamaha, I knew I was settled on, out of the Constellations, a medium bore, large bell. I knew that. So when I came to Terry had some horns together, and I remember you and I talking, like, man, I really want a medium bore with a large bell. And I remember Terry saying, I have that. And that was like, and I didn't need a horn at the time. I had a wonderful decade experience with Yamaha. They were very nice. And I felt like it was time for me to leave. There was a lot of people on a artist roster, and it was time for me to kind of, like I said, I have a great horn collection. I wasn't really looking for anything. And Terry's typical nonchalant way, he goes, I have those. I got the bell and I got a medium. I can do that. And it was interesting because he's like me. He wants to experiment and make things better. So we did, man. And so, I remember hanging, I'd get up early and we'd go and we'd have coffee together, and Terry and I would play different things. And I mean, Terry, you correct people. I mean, we were pretty much dead on when I came in. I knew I wanted that medium bore with a large bell, and we just kind of kept on pushing and pulling things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times I think your instincts are always better than not you personally, but I mean, people's instincts are better than like when they overthink things.
Yeah.
Like if your gut tells you try that and do that, you're probably not far off the mark.
Okay.
And then it's like, I always look at my job as, it's not my job to tell people what to play or it's like my job is to figure out what makes them play better.
guide them the right way.
You know what I mean? It's like one of my theories is everybody's got their sound in their head that they want to sound like.
Yeah.
My job is to give them a piece of equipment that makes that sound come out with the least amount of aggravation and grief and effort.
Yeah. Be efficient. Yeah. And
just be, so don't think about it. It's like if you have to think about trying to get that sound, then something's wrong.
Yep. Exactly.
You need to just like put the thing on and it gets that sound with you not going, let me pinch a little. Let me do, no, don't do anything. Just blow. If it doesn't sound right, it's not right.
Exactly.
Don't try to make it right.
Use these.
Yeah, that's what they're there for. I wondered about that. Is that what those are for?
I think so. Sometimes
I thought they were decorative. I don't know.
I'm Dumbo. You know, I gotta say, if Maynard Ferguson, with all the air he compressed and used, can play a medium bore,
shit.
So can I. So can Freud, who's 13, who thinks he needs a large bore trumpet.
Oh,
I'm sorry. If Maynard can play it and make it sound, my favorite recordings of him, Wayne Bergeron, Eric Miyashiro, Frank Green, we're all hanging out on these shows. They've been on these shows and we've all talked about equipment. And if he can sound that massive on something and get around that well, I should be able to. There's a method to it somewhere, so.
Yeah, well, it's a matter of balancing your physical abilities with what the equipment wants to take. And there's, my theory is also the trumpet's not about to change. You're not going to change that much. So the piece in the middle is probably a little more important than you might want to think.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I did a clinic once and I said, who thinks the mouthpiece is not that important? And of course, half a dozen hands go up, right? I said, okay, come on up here. Play this trumpet without a mouthpiece. Huh?
Yeah.
I can't. And I went, that's right. Now how important is it? Guess what? It's real important.
Your first link. Yep.
Yeah, and it's the balancing act. It's the balance point between you can't be buying a new trumpet every week.
No.
And you're not going to change your physiology.
No.
Over time, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody plays when they're 60 like they played when they were 20.
Nope.
I don't care who you are and what you think. And a lot of people keep thinking, well, I used to play great on this. Yeah, I used to fit in size 12 jeans. It's like, so what?
My left arm was 40 pounds and now it's 80.
My left bicep used to be 18 and now it's 12.
Exactly. It's a big difference, things change.
Things change, but it's a matter of being very sensible about you, about the equipment, about what's the efficient way to play. You see, like you said earlier, somebody comes in, they got a large bore trumpet and a 1C mouthpiece, and they can't understand why they can't play G above the staff in tune. It's like, hello, let's back up here.
And it happens to everybody, no matter what their skill level is. I know some unbelievable pro players that are going through that and went through it. You both know.
Yeah.
Who are with us and not with us that have went through that crazy roller coaster. Keep it simple, stupid. Listen to your open this up,
Yeah, quit trying to fight this stuff to get out what you're trying to get out and find stuff that plays the way you want it to play.
Beautiful.
It's like it's that simple. Quit trying to Joe Blow plays a 490 bore. It's like, so what?
Yeah.
That's him. Is that you? Yeah. No, you're not Joe Blow. So why do you think you should play that?
Sure.
It's like, if it's in a sensible realm, there's some wiggle room.
Yeah. But it's also about the balance. The way you said it best, it's about the balance. If something is going to offset itself. So if you have a medium bore, and for me, I really think with the CF horn, having a medium bore and a bigger bell really lends itself to having that that correct balance. And then with your slot receiver, and there's a lot of things that make these things up as a perfect package for the player. What works for me might not work for you. It might be easier. We've come to find out that we've sold quite a bit of these. People don't want to work harder, right, Terry? I mean,
last time I checked,
right? We want to work smarter. And all your horns are great, because what's amazing about your line is you leave it to the individual. And if the individual doesn't,
it's not me to tell them what to play.
Correct.
It's up to them to decide what works best for them. And my job is to just make that.
Yep, exactly. And my job with my CF horn is, the way I look at it is, if Maynard Ferguson and John Faddis and these guys can play a medium bore, and they're successful and their career has lasted for 50, 60 years playing that same way, non-injuring, maybe they're onto something.
Yeah, let's think this through for a change.
I'm going to be 49 in 2 weeks, and I'm playing better now. Well, I'm not playing much at all, but I'm playing better now than I ever have.
How old are you?
I'll be 49 in December 13th, and I'm saying to myself, it's took me that long to figure out how to play consistently, and
I could have a son your age.
You have a son. How old's Johan? Is he 27?
I started a little bit late. He's 27.
He's 27? He was right on the money. I was 27. Let's talk about Kim and Johan. You've had Kim for a number of years, and she's wonderful. We love Kim. She's holding down the fort there. And now you have this Kim. We love her. She's on the chat. She's been very helpful with everybody and your customers. And
a lot of times she knows more about how my trumpets play than I do. I know how to make them. She knows how they work.
She's awesome.
And who plays best on, like, if I play like this, which one of yours should I play?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
She's steered the right direction.
Yeah, her ears in the right direction. She understands that part of it.
The mouthpieces too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, she's very intimate with the equipment and steering people in the right direction, like Kenny is too. Yeah. I mean, he can listen to you play and just go, "Oh, stop here, this one."
So between Kenny and Kim, the 2Ks, we should call them the 2Ks. It's a very nice stable of great information and great people that have your back, which is wonderful. I think. Well,
they've got the front, because they're between me and the consumer, because, as I'm more into it, I'm, Mr. Shop Man.
Yeah.
I'm back there making stuff all day long.
Yep.
And they're busy understanding what it was that I did.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've got Johan, who, like you said, didn't fall far from the tree.
So let's talk about that 27-year-old Italian stallion. That's his new name now, the Italian stallion. I'm going to try to see you this week before he leaves, because I want to hang out with Johan. He's proud of him, man. I really am.
He's Terry Jr. for sure. I mean, if I always wanted a clone of myself to work in the shop, this is as close as I'm going to get.
So
he's a brilliant French horn player, fabulous musician, has been like from day one when he picked the thing up. Studied in Lugano, Switzerland with David Johnson, played with the big German orchestra, solo thing. I mean, the guy's an incredible musician, and decided that after a few auditions, he's like, all right, that's not a whole lot of fun. And he got a job working for this guy, and bless his heart, Christian Bosc, B-O-S-C, wonderful instrument maker / repair guy in northern Italy, which was just south of Lugano, where Johan was.
Lake Lugano, and people who don't know Lugano is on the Switzerland-Italian border, correct?
Right, it's right on the border.
There's a lake, and the reason when you told me he was in Lugano, it blew my mind, because that's my favorite place. We used to play Lugano Jazz Festival every year.
It's beautiful.
With Maynard. I used to play there with Maynard multiple times. I've been there. And when you said he was in Lugano and playing with the orchestra, I was blown away. I'm like, that kid that was in Oviedo, messing around with a cowboy hat, is now playing French horn in the symphony, making horns with Bosc, yeah. Yeah, so now he's back with you. And
here's a funny story. So after he decided that he got this, he calls me up, he goes, Dad, I've stopped studying. I've got my master's in French horn performance. I'm apprenticing at a small shop, and I'm like, doing what? He goes, well, making brass instruments and mouthpieces.
Huh?
What?
Did you learn something, kid?
Excuse me? It's like, there's a building in Florida with your name on it that does kind of the same thing, you know?
Kind of, a little bit.
So, but he loved Italy, loves Europe, been there for years. I'm like, it's fine. I get it. That's great. I'm happy for you. No problem. I went over there to visit with him. We had a great time, drove all through Europe. And of course I get there and he goes, Dad, we got a small problem. He goes, I don't know how to drive a standard. I'm like, you're kidding me. So I'm also going to drive the whole time we're in Europe.
On the wrong side of the road, on the stick.
No, thank God, on the right side of the road.
Oh, because you're in Italy. Yeah.
Well, Italy and Germany and Switzerland and I don't know about four
You're in
other
the right
countries.
places. You're not in the UK where you're driving on the other
Right,
side.
right. No, I wouldn't do that. So we had a fabulous time, but is the boss that he works for, man, this guy's like genius level.
Really?
Genius level. Yeah. I mean, he's a machinist. He's an instrumentalist, designer. The guy I was impressed. I'm telling you. And it takes a bunch to impress me.
Well,
he impressed
the
me.
ITG show, you guys brought a whole bunch. Johan brought a whole bunch of stuff in Miami when we did Miami 2 years ago. The ITG.
Yeah.
Some of the quality stuff that he had, you were showing it to me.
Well, that piccolo trumpet that was so fabulous that one of actually Johan's college friends actually bought it. Kid's ridiculous trumpet player, by the way, ridiculous. We got to get you the latest video he sent us. You're just like, he recorded like all the parts and just kills it.
Cool.
And he bought the piccolo trumpet, and Johan was so proud because it was, Dad, I made most of those parts. I'm like, hell yeah. So anyway, so after he had worked for this guy for about 6 months, we're on the phone. He goes, Dad, he goes, I got to tell you, doing this computerized machinery, working with my hands, he goes, I love this kind of work. He goes, you know what else? I'm really good at it too. And I went, really? I wonder why.
In your genes, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you what, since he got back here, I'm smiling more than ever, Carl.
Good, man. I love it.
It is so much fun to work with him. He's so into it. But what's funny is I'm up at 3 a.m. You don't want to hear about anything before, like the sun is like trying to kiss the noon hour. It's like,
he's 11, 12 o'clock guy.
No, 9 or 10.
9 or 10. Okay. Well,
but then he works till 9 or 10.
Okay. So he works. Yeah. So
we're like on, I'm up and at him. And by the time I'm like, I got to go home. You guys have fun.
Oh, wow, man. So actually really good. Cause now you're getting even more time at the factory.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the morning shift. He's got the afternoon shift.
But you still hang out with each other from that 9 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock hour to when you go back. Okay.
It's fabulous. Yeah. And of course he's staying here at the house with us till he nails down a home for himself, and his wife is still in Italy. They got married. So he's going through all the paperwork to get her over here. It's like a year's worth of time, thousands of dollars of lawyer fees. I said, you could have flown her into Mexico and walked across the river and she'd have got free health care and everything. I said, what do you think? Doing it legally.
Well, I mean, I got to say, I've run into Johan now 3 times, and it's scary because it's little Terry. It's hysterical, but
it's great, isn't it?
But yet he's got his own scene.
He's his own man.
He's not resting. You're not giving him anything. You gave, he's not resting on your laurels, which I like.
I just gave him good genetics.
Exactly. So it's an exciting time, man. I'm excited to come and see it. And, like I said, I've run into him 3 times, and, last but not least, and she's definitely not last but not least, I just want to say hello to Ann, because without Ann, and we'd all be running amok. Your wife, who's taking care of, the front office,
Everything.
Yeah, man, she keeps everybody together and honest, and we love Ann. So, Stephen and Kim and myself and you, we love hanging out with Ann, and she takes care of business, man. So,
Yeah, she ran an $80 million a year multi-store corporation as president of the company.
Yeah.
She can run my business.
And that's why I'm with you, because it's about family.
I've
been with
I'm all
corporate
about
for a long
that.
time. I've been with corporate for a long time, and I love corporate. It's great. But what drew me to you is, like I said in the beginning of this whole thing, man, it's what you see is what you get. Nothing's changed other than it's about family. It's very simple.
Yeah, I haven't changed a whole lot. I've got a couple of gray hairs, not as many as you maybe.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? The last couple of years, my wife's cancer broke.
49.
Yeah, but it's in the last year I've turned gray. It's hysterical. I'm like, what?
It happened.
It's like bang. I'm like, okay.
Have you seen Kenny lately?
I seen Steven posted a picture. He's all gray. Look at him. I don't feel so bad now. God bless you, Kenny. He's got a decade on me though. So
I got some, but it's I'm hanging in.
You're hanging in.
When I get a haircut, I tell the girl, I said, listen, at my age, I'm happy to have hair to cut.
Yeah. So that being said, I know it's getting close to the end. So let's hear one more thing from Steven, and we'll kind of tie it up because Terry's got an early morning.
Oh, I still got that much amaretto, so I'm good.
All right. Hit us, buddy.
All right. We have a mouthpiece question for you, Terry.
I can handle that.
Let's see here.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I know
a guy.
I know a guy. Dennis Johnson is asking, which of your backbores is closest to the jet tone shape?
That's a really good question, because Mr. Terry did a little research, because somebody had me try to copy a jet tone mouthpiece completely. This is beautiful. I found out after agonizing over this jet tone backbore, it is a standard off-the-shelf Reamer that we bought for $50. And that's the jet tone backbore.
Really?
Perfect. It's perfect.
Wow.
And I machined one using that Reamer. It's identical. Jeez. Ratzenberger, that owned jet tone, simply went and bought. He didn't make his own Reamers like I did, Mr. Stupid, 24 years old. I'll make my own Reamers because I want my own shapes, No. He bought like the generic,
tool and die,
absolute straight flute Reamer. And we have it. So, I mean, if somebody wants a jet tone backbore,
simple
piece of cake.
Well, it's funny that you just
easier than my stuff.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, Terry. But you mentioned the straight flute. We actually had somebody chime in here. Kevin is saying, I'd love to hear what Terry has to say about opening up the throat of mouthpieces with a straight flute jeweler's Reamer versus a tapered Reamer. The show tonight has me smiling. Thank you, guys.
That's a great question, actually, because the follow-up needs to be opening up with a tapered Reamer from the cup side or the backbore side. There's a difference. But here's another interesting thing that I discovered over my career is that a lot of mouthpieces, for example, the Bach Company, and, God bless Vincent Bach, I got to meet him, thank God, when I was younger. But they ended up having almost no cylindrical section in the throat size. It literally went from the cup to the backbore. And because of that, Bach mouthpieces left in their standard configuration as designed are actually hard to focus for most people. Like, do lead trumpet players play Bach mouthpiece? Not likely.
Not many.
Not likely. You know what I'm saying? And what happens is if you open up that throat with a Reamer, straight Reamer, by the way, you introduce a cylindrical section into the mouthpiece. That cylindrical section is what helps the horn slot, which is why I incorporated that into our slot receiver, where the mouthpiece goes in this way. We machine a cylinder before the tapered lead pipe.
So
I'm not sure that answered the guy's question. However, it's an interesting part of the trumpet right there.
So I'm gonna ask you a question because I love this, man. So in that slot receiver, you have your mouthpiece come in the receiver. It comes in the receiver, and you have a cylindrical section, and that's going to be almost like your straight reamer, so to speak. It's going to be conical.
Correct.
And so from that
No.
conical section,
Conical means this.
yeah,
It's straight
straight
before the conical lead pipe.
So my question is, you got the conical straight section, the race. I actually in your diagram, because you have a wonderful. I always tell people to check out the diagram you write because it's really interesting on your site too, on the slot receiver. From that section, it butts up against the venturi of your lead pipe. Would that be a safe assumption?
No, let me try to explain it. The way I designed the receiver, the mouthpiece goes in.
Yes, sir.
There is a gap because, as Bob Reeves said perfectly, too much gap is bad and no gap is worse.
Worse. Yes. So there is a gap.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I want to make sure of. Yeah. So the gap is there between that and the mouthpiece and the cylindrical section. There's a gap.
Correct. That's correct. So it's designed to be as it should be, but then before the conical shape of the lead pipe, we built in a cylinder.
Straight cylinder.
That's why it slots.
Okay. So you have a straight shot into the conical venturi of the lead pipe.
The Chinese will have this next week.
Oh, they're taking notes as we speak.
No, but a true story. I was at a trade show and one of the guys from Yamaha was taking a picture of that cylinder.
I remember.
And I leaned over and I said, I'll kill you if you manufacture those. And I told Wayne Tanabe that works at the Yamaha, and he goes, what, are you kidding me? He goes, we were making them 5 minutes after you took that picture.
It's the same old thing. Is I can give you the numbers where I'm going to go fishing. I can give you the numbers, and I can put you on that particular piece of coral that I'm going to catch a fish on. But you still got to catch the fish.
That's right.
You don't have to have numbers all day long, but if you don't know how to execute that, then it's on you, man.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Lose their pants. They lose their pants over it. It's like, well, Terry said I could do this, and I tried this, and it doesn't work. Or Carl was going to go fishing, and I caught nothing. What happened? Oh, there it is. Thank you, Stephen. There's the diagram. So,
Stephen, you are amazing,
isn't he? He's badass, man. He
is.
Look at him. So as the slot receiver that Terry was talking about, and I really think these horns slot like no other. And if you don't know what a slot is, if you're not a musician, it just makes notes pop out to a point where they each of them have each note has its own resonance, its own.
You don't have to. We call it. You don't have to fish for the notes. Pardon the expression.
I'm fishing. It's getting good. We'll be here all week. Try to veal.
Could go on till dawn, by the way.
Exactly.
Next
and then I'll just go to work.
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say you go to work in like an hour and a half, right?
You know what? I'm crazy enough. When I was younger, I would have done that. I would have just like, oh, it's 2 a.m. Oh, I'll just start work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna even go back. It was in the late 80s again. It was, remember the Charles Colin brass conferences?
Of course I do.
You and I don't know if you remember this, but I remember we pulled an all-nighter. It was a Charles Colin, and I remember dragging, but I think I was with French Besson at the time with Marvin Stam. And I remember a wonderful guy, the brass lab, Chuck McAlexander. Remember?
Oh,
Chuck?
sure, yeah. I bought a bunch of Chuck's stuff
I
when he
remember
closed
you
down.
drove your car up there and you drug it back with the trailer. And you pulled an all-nighter. I can't remember when it was. It was got to be. And you went. It was all night, and you went. You were the first guy at the booth, and I was like, "Oh my!" I took me a couple hours to even get my stuff together, and you were bright and cheering. I'm like, "Oh my god, you could hang, bro!"
Dude, I'm the Energizer Bunny. I would tell you that right now.
I know. It's. I know.
Carl, you mentioned the booths, and I actually find this question interesting too, because when you're not able to be there in person, you know, Terry and I get to hang out with your poster and tell people about the horns. So even when you're not there, you're there. But you know, one of the
presence.
Yeah, one of the questions that I got is, you guys talk about, you know, making sure that the right person is getting the right equipment. But one thing that I have noticed over time getting to be in the booths is there are a lot of people that don't know how to approach looking for equipment, especially beginners. And you'll hear beginners just bashing their faces against every mouthpiece possible. But for some of the students that are on, you know, what's a good way for a student to start to develop their own sound and know what they need to come to a trade show, or, you know, God willing, back to those soon. You know, what's a good way for somebody to start when they don't know where to start?
I can answer that.
Oh, buddy.
My daughter Erica was about 10 years old, taking up the trumpet, right? And I obviously think about these things. So I said, honey, we're going to sit and we're going to listen to different trumpet players. And I want you to tell me which one you like the sound of. So I would play symphony players. I'd play Maynard. I'd play Chris Bodie. I mean, I'd play like a bunch of Herb Alpert.
Yeah, a whole bunch of different
I
people.
said, which one do you like the sound of? And she picked one. I forget who it even was. I said, okay, here's what you're going to do when you pick up the trumpet. I want you to listen to that recording till it's in your head. And then I want you to pick up the trumpet and I want you to try to sound like that. Mm-hmm. And whatever it is that you have to do to make that sound, you're probably doing it the right way. Now, when it comes to choosing equipment beyond that, you understand what I'm saying? It's like a twofold thing. First, you have to get like, what do I want to sound like?
It's got to be in your head.
And then it's like, what equipment can I get that makes me sound like that without killing myself? Yeah. Does that help, Stephen?
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to jump on that too. Terry, you hit a very, very left brain, right brain thing, which is amazing. You have to have it in your head. It has to be programmed into you to know how to you know, like you said about the Chinese and the Japanese taking pictures of your stuff. Duplication is the best part of gratification. They're gratifying you by duplicating you. So it's the same thing sonically. If I want to sound like Chet Baker, I'm listening to every Chet Baker recording, and that's going to come out regardless of the equipment. But now, if I play a 1C Bach mouthpiece, it might lean towards a darker sound where I can sound like Chet. It will help me, but it's got to come from my comes from your ears. It's all stem from what you know. So as a beginning trumpet player, I always say, who do you like listening to? Just like your daughter, who do you like listening to? And if they can't come up with anybody, I'm like, well, put your trumpet down and go to now it's not your CD player, go to your iTunes.
Yeah, right.
Spotify and pull up trumpet players and check whoever you like, get into that sound.
Yeah.
Try to emulate it and then figure it out. And so, that's a big thing. And then the other thing that I think, Stephen, you might be maybe leaning towards too is we see a lot of people at trade shows trying to play the faster, higher ladder type of thing, especially when you're younger. And Terry hit this earlier doing a high note battle. I see a lot of kids doing damage to their faces early on with playing equipment that, you know, they're smashing at home and playing with a lot of pressure, which we're all going to do. And they might put excessive pressure on their chops and hurt themselves. And like the Satchmo Syndrome, like you told me about. I never
Trust me.
Yeah. And I've seen guys, professional and younger people, hurt themselves. So you got to realize if you're working that hard for something, you got to relax a little bit, man. You know, let the air do the work. It's not just this.
Yep. I think the only thing that I would add in, and this was actually a real revolution. Not revolution. That's not the right word. It was a
revelation.
Revelation. Thank you. You know. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate
the Canadian's that. Gonna fuck. He's gonna
me English.
Sort out. He's gonna sort out our English.
But it was
the French Canadian's gonna sort out our English.
But you know, when getting to hang out at the booths and things like that, I got to see how many people came to try new equipment with a preconceived notion of what they wanted already. And I understand that you want to have a sound and you have that sound in your head and you want to do what you can to get to that sound. But if you come to a booth with a number, like I only want to do 6942 SV9er, you know, and you limit yourself into that, it may not get you to the result that you want. When people come to the booth to try the CF horn and they start asking me about bore sizes and this and that, I won't even tell them. I'm like, play it.
Play it. Here you go.
Yep.
Bang.
Put this on your fish lips.
Put it on your chops. Play.
Yeah, play it. And then I always get the same reaction. And when I do tell them the details behind the horn, they're like, wow, I never would have thought about those numbers lining up with that feel. And Carl always bashes it in, you know, over and over. It's all about, does it feel good? Does it sound good? You know, first thing that people hear is your sound.
Wait a minute, I said that. If it feels good and it sounds good,
yeah.
It is good.
Yeah. And he took it from you.
The mantra is we think the same. That's the mantra.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, it's really true. And like we're like that sometimes with the mouthpieces. Like, quit looking at the number of the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Does it fit your face? Yes or no? Does it feel big? Yeah. Then don't worry about what number it is. It's too big.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's just it's not a rocket science, really, right? I mean, we could pretend
it's not?
we could say it was Sheldon the cat and name it after a cat or
Juliet the dog.
Juliet the dog. We can name
or
it after
Jaja the pig.
Yeah, the pig. We can name it after something and have this mystical thing, or we can say very honestly, like we are, use your ears, use your feel. If you don't have a sound source to work off of, then you shouldn't be playing in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the mystery for a lot of players, younger players. It's like they don't know what it's supposed to sound like. And then they have to understand, yeah, but people play differently, so it sounds different. Like, what kind of sound do you like? And what kind of sound would you like to be like?
Yeah.
Because now we can put the equipment to match how you want to sound. But if you have no concept of that, like Carl said, go back and listen to some stuff.
Do your homework. Open your ears.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very cool. I think we hit that one. I'm gonna blow through a couple other ones, lightning round style here, real quick, because I know we're getting to the midnight hour, so to speak. Luis is asking, have you ever experimented with beryllium bells, Terry?
The beryllium bell, that's an interesting question, actually. The beryllium bell that, quote, Schilke made for years is actually made by Anderson Silver Plating. You know that, Carl?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Anderson makes the beryllium.
Well, it's not. It's actually copper.
Really?
But, yeah. And I actually met the guy whose name is Terry, coincidentally, that made the mandrel that Anderson uses to make that bell.
Wow.
They literally plate the bell on the mandrel so they can make it unbelievably thin based on how long they leave it in the plating tank.
Plating what?
Is
Silver
plating,
or beryllium first? What do they plate it with first?
well, it's copper. That's pure copper.
So it's a copper plating first to make it thin.
Well, you know what? I think the beryllium is actually a misnomer.
Is it? I'm curious. I'm learning.
As far as I know, and I could be mistaken, which would be unusual, is that it's nothing more than Anderson's copper bell that Renault decided to call beryllium.
Come on.
I would not be surprised. I'll have to do research. I'm going to say that I could stand corrected.
All right, well, find out.
I could sit corrected, either one.
Either one.
But I'll find out. But to my knowledge, and I knew Renault personally, by the way. Great guy. We had a lot of fun.
Cool guy.
He was a lot of fun. It was interesting. I'll tell you a short Renault story.
You got my Renault text today, right? I sent you, or did you not get it?
Bother reading your text? What are you, nuts?
I thought you loved me. No, I mean, because he was out of his mind. That's why I kind of liked the guy, right?
What's wrong with that?
That's why I like him. I'm saying the guy was really ahead of his time.
That's why you like me. But anyway, I'll never forget when he called me up one day and he goes, "Hey, Terry," I was working in the music store, and he goes, "I'm sitting at your damn airport and I got 5 hours. What are you doing?" I went, "Nothing." He goes, "Well, come on out. Meet me at the bar." I went, "All right."
Tell everybody who we're talking about so they know.
Renault Schilke.
Thank you.
Senior.
Schilke. The Schilke
of Schilke.
Not the fake Schilke, the real Schilke.
No, the real Schilke.
Schilke.
Yeah, he was great. Eyebrows and all. You got to check out a photo of him, man. He had eyebrows from hell. He needed like a lawnmower on those damn things.
He needed a hedge.
Didn't tell him that though.
Hedge clipping.
Oh, it was terrible. Hedge clippers, man.
So let's go to the bar. 5 hours. Let's go to the bar.
I drove out there, met him at the Toronto airport, sat there at the bar, and it was right after he had gotten, not that long after he got back from Japan, showing Yamaha what to do.
Okay, yeah, this was.
And I told him,
right, the late 70s, early 80s.
The mid 70s, early 70s, somewhere back there.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Shut up. And
great. No, because I remember playing. I was 8 or 9 playing Yamaha, thinking it was a Schilke, and I was like 9, and I'm like, this is a Schilke trumpet.
So I talked to Renault and I said, honestly, Mr. Schilke, I said, I don't think you really should have told the Japanese like how to make shit like we make. And he looked at me flat out and he goes, "Yeah, paid me a lot of money." He goes, "I didn't tell him everything." I'll never forget that. Just like that. Man. They paid me a lot of money. He goes, "I didn't tell him everything."
There he is. As a
he had a drink. I'm like, all right, I feel better now.
What's amazing to me is what he worked for Martin before he went with Schilke, and he said they took 3 guys. One of them was Reynolds. The other one was maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. It wasn't Old Man Bach. It was they took 3 guys to work on a Martin committee trumpet. I can't remember the other 2.
Yeah, join the club. But you're right. It was a committee. That's why they called it.
Yeah. And Reynolds ran with the ball, and Reynolds had the most to say about the horn. And I remember we were talking yesterday about the wonderful Larry Ramirez, who was at the end with Holton and LeBlanc and Martin. And he worked with Reynolds prior to that, but he was with Holton for years. Long story short, I know Reynolds ran with that Martin thing, said, I designed this, and the Martin handcraft, and then now all the Schilke Martin handcraft things were all his designs in the Martin committee world. And just before Wallace Roney died, I remember we were talking about horn design, and it was amazing from Reynolds talking to Yamaha, giving Yamaha a lot of great information, and then passing it on to You know, prior to that with the Martin Committee, wish I could remember the two other guys. It's going to drive me nuts.
Is it
But it was
Eldon?
amazing.
Eldon Bench?
Eldon Bench. It was Bench.
Thank you, Kevin and Luis.
And who?
Yeah, he was in Chicago too.
Bench was. It wasn't. Colicchio wasn't involved. That wasn't Dominic. I'll think of the other guy. I think he was a player. But yeah, there was 3 or 4 of them. But it was interesting and amazing. Though you said though quintessential that he didn't give them all the information.
Yeah. Oh, I got a couple other stories, by the way. After I left Toronto in 79, 80, actually. Yeah, I left Giardinelli in 79, went back to Toronto. It was the height of like the Jimmy Carter 80% interest level or, something stupid.
Yeah.
So I lost my business, went bankrupt, 29 years old, lost everything.
Wow.
Everything. Renault phones me up. Terry, need a job? I went, yeah. He goes, why don't you come down to Chicago? I'll fly you and your wife down, put you up in my penthouse down on the river or the lake or whatever is on the lake.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should come work for me. I said, Renault, I'm going to be honest. I really have my heart set on Florida.
That was
and
really
Chicago doesn't interest me that much because I hate the cold. So as much as I love you, save your money because unless you're going to pay me some stupid amount of money. And I gave him a number and he went, ain't no goddamn way I'm going to pay that much money. I went, that was my point.
It's amazing you're saying this because one of my questions that I deleted was what brought you down to Florida? And
sunshine.
It wasn't where Steven is, where it's 20 degrees, snowing, and miserable. It was
dude.
Go to Florida.
I mean, I would have loved to have gone to work with Schilke personally, like in a business thing. But after going to New York and realizing that was not for me.
Yeah, big city.
When you said Chicago, I'm like, oh no, I've been to Chicago in the middle of December. And guess what? Because that was Midwest, is middle of December, right? I'm like, oh no, I've been there. And guess what?
Every time.
No, I don't think so.
Like, this sucks.
And I'll never forget the first time I went to Florida, 15 years old, mom and dad go down for vacation, right? From Toronto. I get down there, it's March. We just left like a snowstorm or some shit, right? Pardon the expression.
It's all right.
We get down there and I'm like, wait a minute. On the same piece of dirt, they're down here at the beach and we're under a snowbank. I'll never forget. I was like, if I ever had the chance, I would move to Florida.
There you go.
So when I lost the business in Toronto, coincidentally, I had married a girl from New York. And we got married so she could work in Canada.
Oh, wow.
But because we were married, it made it easier for me to get the job at Giardinelli's.
Awesome.
So at that point, I could move anywhere I wanted. And I'm like, gotta go.
That's great, man.
So July 1980, I moved to Florida. It's like, I'm done.
1980. How was
July.
Wow, okay. So how was Schilke? He must have been a man's man. It sounds like he was a man's man.
Very much so. There were rumors about him. He was a marksman.
Really?
And he taught Chicago police how to shoot.
No kidding.
Yeah. And there's rumors about him having an altercation on the way home from the factory one night and capping somebody, and the cops went, oh, well.
I mean,
I don't know that that's true, but I know that it's not true.
Yeah, you can't either deny or accept the story. That's hysterical. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife keeps telling me I need to, every time I think of some of these things out of my life, I need to make a quick video, because every once in a while I think of something, it's like, and there should be like, what? I never heard that story before. It's like, oh yeah, that one.
Wonderful.
I've had a bunch of them.
I bet. Thanks for sharing them with us, buddy.
No, it's all right. This is enjoyable for me. Like you said, it's about the hang. I enjoy. This is my life, like you, Carl. It's like I'd rather not be doing anything else right now, other than sitting at my bar.
Yeah.
Talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Relaxing after a short, 17-hour day. I'm cool.
Well, Carl, I know you have a questions that you like to end with, but really quickly, there's a couple comments here in the chat before I say goodbye to the chat.
Okay.
James Skitka is saying, I remember talking with Terry as a kid about flugelhorn mouthpieces at the New York's brass conference at the Roosevelt Hotel. Always appreciated how cool and personable he was. Took the time to talk to me and give advice when all the heavy New York cats who were much cooler to hang with there. Never forgot that. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That's you know what? That's part of what has made my life what it's been, is that kind of thing, to realize that you've had that kind of impact. And if we have a second, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Excuse me. The old throat cancer hasn't gone away completely, but it's gone. It still bugs me sometimes. So speaking of New York trumpet players, I'm at Fred Mills' memorial some years back already. Fred was a wonderful man. I knew him from before they formed the Canadian Brass.
Yeah, you know him a long time.
A long time, right? And so I'm at the memorial, and this kid gets up, gray-haired guy, gets up, eulogizing Fred. His name is Neil Baum. And I thought, Neil Baum, I know that name from Canada way back, right? And I thought, oh, that's kind of coincidental. So afterwards, we go to the bar and have like an after-hour hang, right? In comes this guy. As he gets closer, I recognize him. The same kid I sold a trumpet to when he was like 17 years old.
Wow. Is
now trumpet with the Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
And so he walks up and I'm like, you're the same Neil Baum that I knew? And he goes, yeah, that's me. I'm like, dude, I can't believe this. It's like I hadn't seen him in like 40 something years, right? And he tells the story, tells my Ann, he goes, Ann, I have your husband to thank for my career. And I'm like, what? I never taught him or anything, right? He goes, I'll tell you the story. He goes, I walked into the music store. My dad's going to buy me a new trumpet. And Mr. Warburton hands me this beautiful silver bench trumpet. I picked it up. And before I played one note, your husband looked at me and said, excuse me, stop. Before you even pick that thing up, stand up straight, take a deep breath, and play it like a man. He goes, those words changed my life.
Wow.
He goes, every time I pick up the trumpet, I think of your husband.
Wow.
And I go, and I tell every student that story. And I just stood there just going.
Yeah.
And my Ann looked at me and she goes, honey, do you understand what you did at that moment in your life? That you changed someone's life and all their students beyond that by that simple statement that he just told you about. And it was just like, phew,
yeah,
head blew up.
Beautiful.
It's like, and I think that's something as you go through life, you start to realize, what impact did I have? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm 70 years old now. You start to think, what impact have I had?
Yeah.
And that story on its own is like, that's enough.
Yeah, goosebumps.
I did good.
You did good, man. You did good. That's beautiful. And it's great that Anne, who was in corporate world and, you know, seen a bunch of crazy trumpet players, got to hear that story firsthand. That
Oh yeah,
that sentence changed that guy's life to where, you know, that's what we all strive for. It's a small community. I mean, that's
yeah.
what Hang is. It's a small community, and it
Oh,
doesn't even have to be trumpet players. It's anything in corporate. My wife deals with corporate too. It's the same thing. It's just treat people the way you want to be treated, man. It's very
yeah.
important. And you
Try to
always
do
have,
right.
yeah,
Try to do right.
the humility in people. I love that. Very cool.
All right, Carl. Now you can close up. Not Carl. The other guy. What's his name? Steve?
Yep. Well, that actually pretty much hits everything in the chat. We actually had somebody, William Rourke, asked Carl if you ever talk about your MF Superbone, and I know we've hit that a couple times in streams in the past, but wasn't any specific question. Just, he knew that you saw that you had one, and if you ever talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great horn. It was Maynard's horn. He gave it to me when we did the record Brass Attitudes. Me and Tom Garling, the trombone player. I was playing some valve bone on a gig like Terry was. I always liked enjoying playing valve trombone and always opened up my chops. I did it for years, and Maynard, as a surprise in the studio, laid on 2 Superbones. Here, play them. And I had both the slide and the valves, and it's in my collection. I play it. I used to bring it on Billy's gig until it got knocked over a few times. And I decided that I really didn't want to trash the horn. And I take it out for special occasions. It's a great playing instrument. It's a very big instrument to play.
Medium bore.
Yeah, it's not a medium bore. I'll give you a little story. When I was not looking for a deal, and what I mean by a deal was I was looking after I left Yamaha. Like I said, I was playing a lot. I have a lot of great horns. Terry knows this. I'm good with trumpets. I could play 10 other horns and I could sound fine on them. So I meet this one gentleman who's making these horns, and you know, he has to rename nameless, and Terry and I were hanging out, and at Shilke, I was playing some Shilke, and I was just, you know, playing some different horns and seeing what was out there, and not really looking for anything. The guy gives me a horn, and it's a large bore. He said, "Oh, yeah, this is up your alley." And I play it C scale, simple C scale, and it's like the worst C scale I ever played in my life. Like, it was horrible, out of tune. I couldn't find the notes, you know. And so he gives me another horn, and it's like a medium large, same thing. It's even worse. He goes, "Well, what do you play?" I'm like, "I like medium bore." He goes, "Well, that's the problem. You can't play a large bore trumpet. You're not equipped to play a large bore trumpet." Now, Terry, I told you the story. You know the story. I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I can't play a large bore trumpet." I said, "What's a Superbone?" I think that's like 530 or 540. So I also play tenor sax. I said, "Well, but they're not large bore." I said, "I can't play them. You're right. No, a good trumpet's a good trumpet, period, the end." I walked away from the guy. And I'm just like, "You're going to throw numbers at me telling me I can't play something? Come on. Like, really?" You know, and I wanted to punch the guy. I really did. I'm like, "That's where you're going to come at me with that." So what I'm getting at is, you know, Maynard has this big, humongous Superbone, and it's really almost a relaxing thing when you play these big horns. Like Terry played the bass trombone. It really opens up your whole, you know, your muscles, and everything opens up, feels good. And I don't play it much anymore. I play it for certain occasions, but it's a fun instrument. You know, I'll just leave it like that. And I cherish it, along with Maynard's Constellation and my dad's Constellation, and my 2 Terry Warburton CF horns that are very, very, actually, I have to pat Terry and myself on the back. We just sold horn 30 we made 30 CF trumpets, right, Terry?
Yeah.
That's, you know, and we haven't really been with COVID and everything, we haven't really been advertising much because no one has a gig right now. So we're just being cool. You know, I mean,
The sad part is that musicians around the world are out of a gig.
Yes.
I mean, I have friends in Brazil, in Spain, in Norway. It's like Japan, everywhere. Every musician is out of a gig.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's really sad. I really hope that this whole thing with the vaccines, you know, can we get over this like in 6 months maybe and just be done with this shit? It's like, the sad part was I did a research on the 1918 pandemic. Fortunately, not the same circumstances really, because they had no clue what was going on.
Oh, wow.
It was 5 years before they got back to normal.
Oof.
But they didn't come up with a vaccine. They didn't come up. I mean, they didn't know anything. It was just a matter of it finally burned itself out.
Yeah.
5 years. Can you imagine going through 5 years of this crap?
No. I think the whole world would be a mess, as it is now.
The whole world is a mess.
I
I think it's going to take us 6 months. I think by next summer, Carl, we're going fishing again.
Let's go. I can't wait.
I'm ready.
I can't wait. I want to come this next week before you.
Yeah, please. Let me know.
With you and hang with Johan and Kim and Ann and see everybody there and hang out and laugh.
See all the new equipment.
I can't wait, man. I can't.
Dude,
plasma cutter and a lathe and.
We're on a mission, man.
Cool. And the boats, because you and I have boat things. We like boats.
Well, you know, the 32-foot marine trader trawler that's sitting at the shop now.
How's it working?
Let me tell you what, when I was sanding the other day, I was on the superstructure, right? And I'm sanding away and I'm going, got a lot of square feet here.
Yeah, it's big, right? It's amazing how big they get. It kills me every day. I look at this thing.
Yeah, it's bigger than you think. That's for sure.
A lot of square footage, but we love it.
That's right. That's why we do it. I knew there was a reason I get up at 3:00 in the morning.
We go to play. We don't go to work. We go to play.
That's exactly correct, man. You know what? One of my favorite expressions is, we need a reason to get out of bed. And I think people that get older and don't have a reason to get out of bed, sooner or later, and more sooner than later, don't get out of bed.
They'll stay in bed. Yeah.
And guys like me and you that have endless amounts of stuff to do.
Yeah.
We keep going. I just chatting with Bob Reeves the other day.
I love him, man.
Man, he's a good friend of mine. And
I mean, good guy. My favorite picture is you and Bob Reeves and myself and Fred Powell on your 45th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
And think about that, man. Yourself, Bob, Fred Powell. There was another guy in there too. No, it's just and myself. I was thinking about just the history between you and Bob and Fred alone.
Yeah.
Brass world. It's like, holy macaroni, man.
Bob's going to turn 90 years old. And I said, I should come out there for your birthday. And he goes, nah, I think I'm going to come to your place for my birthday. He said, it'll be more fun.
And you know what? He's right.
And he's right. I know. He said that. And I'm like, that's great. You know that when he was here at the Miami ITG, we took him out sailing for the day.
That the next day after the party, I was gone. I heard about that.
No, it was during ITG.
It was the day off. I mean, you guys took a day off. And
oh yeah, we took the morning off and went sailing. Oh, Bob was just like, this is the absolute best. I said, do we have to go back? And he goes, I don't.
What a gentleman.
Tell my friend Charlie, I said, Charlie, another couple hours, we're good. My friend Charlie went sailboating with COVID-19, been down for 10 days now.
He's got COVID-19. Really? He's got it for 10 days. Wow.
Said he feels like it's mononucleosis on steroids.
Yeah, he was saying, God bless him, man. Hopefully he does, he gets better soon.
I hope so too. He's been a friend for 40 years, man. He's been we've sailed to the Bahamas, we've sailed to the dry Tortugas. I mean,
wow,
a lot of good memories with this man. And he's like, man, that was like a shocker.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're looking at people. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, look at that picture. Stephen again. Yeah, look at that.
That's Stephen, you know.
He's got it. Fred Powell on the left side. Bob.
Look at that.
Terry in my orange shirt. I love that shot because I look at modern technology of brass making. And I had to relate when I first was on Maynard Ferguson's band in '93. I was in LA and went to Bob Reeves with Maynard's Constellation. And the horn played horrible. It was out of Maynard's closet. I gave it to Bob, and KO was working, and Bob looked at it. He's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "This is Maynard. I'm out with Maynard right now. Can you do something?" He goes, "I can do a valve alignment." And a day later, he gave me the horn back, and it played amazing. And he was the nicest guy to me. And he didn't get me from Adam. And he's like, I'm like, "How much do I owe?" And he was like, "Half price. It's Maynard's horn. You're out. I know what you're out for with Maynard. It's okay." And he charged me half price. And it was me and Frank Green. And then, I met you around that same time. I met Fred a lot later, and I worked with Fred with Con. I just look at them like, those are good cats. And they were all there for your 45th, man. It was cool.
Yeah, no, that was a good time. That was a really good time.
Yeah, man.
I was a little skinny then, but that's all right.
Well, you had a reason to be skinny.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I'll tell you what, that throat cancer diet, very effective.
For the birds. Yeah, you don't want to go on that one. That's for sure.
No, I don't want to do it again. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Thank God you beat it. God bless. God bless. Stephen.
All right, gentlemen, this was a fun hang. I appreciate all the people that popped in and said hi, especially the guy that knew me how many years ago in Toronto? Good God. It's like, or at the brass conference, man, that was a long time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a lot of good people in the industry. And I think that we're blessed as individuals to be in this industry.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I mean, it's funny. Ann saw that after the first couple of trade shows. She goes, "Nobody in my industry has fun like you guys do."
Yeah.
Like, even though you're all like competitors and everything, she goes, "All you guys get along."
Yep.
Everybody's like nice to each other. I'm like, why not?
And if you're not nice, then you're not going to be here for a long time.
That's right. You'll be out of the industry.
You're not going to be respected, because if you're an asshole, we're going to sort you out really quick.
That's true. That's really true. Which is why I think everybody that's in the business gets along. It's like, there's very few people that I don't like and don't respect.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name names, but it's like, you know what? They come, they go.
Yeah.
The good people stay.
That's it. So you're in your 47th year now?
Yeah.
Couple years. Well, that being said, Stephen, you're closing the chat down. I'm going to leave it to Terry.
Yep.
Stephen, you want to say goodbye? And I'm going to give Terry one more question, and he can end up and we can close out with Terry. But Stephen, what do you got? You want to say goodnight?
Yeah, really quick. Thank you to everybody that participated in the chat. Also want to thank Kim Abishan with Warburton for hanging out in the chat as well and giving a couple good answers to those questions. Much appreciated for that. Like we do every Tuesday, and Carl mentioned, we'll be back next Tuesday with our special guest, Carl's bandmate from the Billy Band, Michael Del Judas. Special episode from the studio, All Access Studios. So hang out for that. And once again, thanks for participating with the questions. And Terry, do me a favor, and once we're done, just hang out for a minute, and we'll say goodbye after everything, after the stream ends.
Well, I have to hang out. I haven't finished my drink yet.
Perfect.
That being said, Stephen, thanks for bringing us together every week, man.
Hey, man.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. Thanks for keeping everybody
honest. And he's a nice guy too.
He is. He's good. He's nice, and he's good with the pictures. He's amazing. He just flies.
Yeah, how does he do that? How does he pull that stuff up so fast?
He's smart.
It'd take me a week to pull up them photos.
Yeah, no, he's got it together, man. Thank you for keeping us honest and happy, and
Yeah,
being a part of the Warburton family and the CF Horn family, and keeping everybody honest and happy. And thank you to Kim, and my love to Terry and his family. I can't wait to hang out with you guys again. Thank you. It means the world to me that you came here. We laughed. We laughed, and we talked some stories. So thank you, brother. I
stayed up later than I normally do.
That is saying a lot. So that being said, what excites you for tomorrow, and what excites you in the future? It could be anything, not even music. What excites you? You know, we're going to end with this. What's exciting to you, bro?
Waking up.
Perfect. Perfect answer. I love it. There it is.
On the green side of the grass. I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that. Here's to
All
wake
right,
up.
Carl. Love
Thank
you, bro.
Love you guys. Thank you, man. Thanks, Terry.